Chapter 957. The relationship between Tongning and Xiaosun was that of a friend. As soon as Tongning thought about how, from today onwards, there would no longer be a filmmaker that loved sci-fi more than she did, she couldn't help but burst into tears. Xiaosun's daughter was infected by Tongning's emotions, so she also broke down in tears. Even when Emoting arrived at the hospital, Tongning could not stop crying. Emoting's heart ached as he watched his woman cry. He immediately pulled Tongning up from the floor and carried her in his arms. Xiaosun's death was too sudden and no one expected it. At that time, the Ant Queen was only left with the most important part of filming before it could enter post-production. But Xiaosun was no longer around. Tongning, you are still pregnant. Don't be too sad. I simply hope that I will be able to see the Ant Queen in theaters soon. That would be the best consolation for my father. Tongning did not say a word. She simply looked at Xiaosun's daughter and bowed 3 times. Afterwards, Emoting carried Tongning in his arms and carried her home. But throughout the entire process she did not say a word. Emoting knew that she needed time to digest what had happened, so he notified Lu Che to temporarily stop filming for the Ant Queen to comfort the crew. Tongning simply listened as she leaned against the bed. It took her quite some time to recover from the shock of Xiaosun's death. Seeing this, Emoting's heart ached as he sat on the edge of the bed and held onto Tongning's hand. The only thing you can do for him right now is to finish filming the Ant Queen, because that is his wish. Ning, I know you're very sad, but the dead can't be brought back to life. Pull yourself together. The entire crew is waiting for you to deal with the aftermath. Tongning lifted her eyes and looked at Emoting. Her sadness was clear on her face as she sniffled a little before replying. I'm fine. I've always known that life is fragile, but I've never experienced it before. Now that I'm witnessing with my own eyes, the person I was talking to just one day pass away today. I just feel it's very sudden and hard to accept. Tongning sobbed as tears once again rolled down her face. That's why I thought of you. Because you promised to film the Ant Queen. You've been running around the office, home, and set like a spinning top. I'm really scared. Emoting understood how Tongning felt and understood her sudden panic. Facing the sudden disappearance of a life, anyone would find it hard to accept. Above all, Tongning had always been more sensitive to emotions than others. She couldn't help but think of the people close to her and feel guilty. So, Emoting once again pulled her into his embrace and gently patted her on the back. When you're strong, even a man can't compete with you. Yet you still make things difficult for yourself. Why do you have to bear the burden that you shouldn't have? Be strong, huh? After hearing this, Tongning felt a little better. She cried a little more before she finally calmed down. After a short break, Tongning insisted on returning to the set. Emoting knew she needed to vent, so he accompanied her to the set. After hearing about Xiaosun's death, everyone was immersed in grief. In fact, many people felt that without Xiaosun, the Ant Queen would no longer be the Ant Queen. After all, no one was as passionate about the film as Xiaosun was. So as soon as Tongning arrived on set, everyone looked at her and asked, President Tang, are we still going to film? How are we going to film? Tongning sobbed for a moment before she replied, Of course, we will continue filming. I've already contacted director and Zihao. After he's sorted everything out, he will replace Xiao Sr. After hearing this, everyone was not very interested. So Tongning continued, I know it's hard for you to accept Director Xiaosun's passing, and I don't want to accept it either. But Director Xiaosun's biggest wish was to see the Ant Queen hit the screens. So, I hope that everyone will continue to work hard for the film. When the day comes that the film is released, I will remember all of your names and remember every single one of your faces. After hearing Tongning's words, the staff on set were moved to tears. Okay, since President Tang doesn't want to give up, we have no reason to give up either. We will persist until the end and help the new director settle in as quickly as possible. Thank you. Although Tongning was in Emoting's arms, from everyone's point of view, the woman in front of them appeared weak and fragile. But she had an extremely strong spirit. That kind of cohesion, that kind of hot-bloodedness, quickly united everyone. Everyone on set of the Ant Queen will receive double their original salary, Emoting said. This last sentence was said by Mo Ting. It was a reward and a way to comfort his subordinates. Because this was the only way for the staff to put in more effort and give their all for the film. Soon, Zihao returned from overseas. The first thing he did was head over to Superstar Media to look for Tongning. At this time, Tongning was at the agency preparing to issue an obituary. I'm sorry, Zihao, for asking you so urgently to save the day. There's no need to say these things between us. Leave it to me. And Zihao replied. I can't do much else, but I'm willing to do anything for a friend. Plus, I'm happy that I can still be of use to you. As for Xingyan, she's attending an audition overseas. She has an assistant with her, so you don't need to worry about her for now. Like this, and Zihao received all of Qiao Sen's information, and decided to do his best to understand Qiao Sen's style, and narrow the gap between them. As for Qiao Sen's obituary, and Zihao gave Tongning a suggestion. Didn't President Mo stop you? If you issue an obituary now, you'll give others another reason to slander you. Plus, I've heard that because of Luo Sheng, you've made enemies out there. What do I have to be afraid of? Tongning asked. If they want to slander me, then go ahead. If they want to ridicule me, then go ahead. I don't care what the public says, but if a scumbag tries to provoke me, I won't show any mercy. Qiao Sen has spent his entire life studying sci-fi. I don't want him to leave quietly. Fine. After all, there are so many people fighting with you now. As long as you're happy. After speaking, Zihao grabbed all of the information in his hands. He needed to focus on the film as soon as possible. Afterwards, Tongning issued an obituary on behalf of Superstar Media. The wish that Qiao Sen couldn't achieve, she was going to help him achieve it. It didn't take long before news of Qiao Sen's death was announced. The cause of his death was a cerebral hemorrhage caused by overwork while filming Tongning's film, The Ant Queen. This made President Fan extremely happy. Chapter 958. Was Tongning going to have to bear 2 lives on her shoulders? The public immediately exploded with comments. Isn't it better to be a diamond manager and keep quiet? Why does she have to go and mess around with a domestic sci-fi film? Now someone has died. I really want to know what Tongning is thinking. I don't understand. Who would want to watch a domestic film that's burdened with people's lives? She's asking for trouble. I beg Tongning, it's fine if you don't come back to act, but please stop messing around. 2 people have already died because of you. Faced with the negative comments, although it was expected, Long Jie and Lin Qian still felt the scolding was a bit too harsh. Should we get Qiao Sen's daughter to explain the situation? No need. Don't drag Qiao Sen's daughter down with you. Tongning shook her head. I'm fine, don't worry. Since I'm brave enough to post an obituary, I'm already prepared for this. Fine, but President Fan will definitely take this opportunity to stir up trouble. He'd better come. Tongning placed her gaze on the computer screen, but her voice was extremely cold. A slut is a slut because he won't forgive you just because you took a step back. Qiao Sen's death was a huge blow to Tongning, but it also made her realize a lot of things. Just as Mo Ting had said, life in this world was tough to begin with. One had to face all sorts of accidents at any time. So instead of suffering, why not live life to its fullest? That way, when one was old, when one looked back, one would feel that one's life had not been in vain. You guys get back to work. I don't need anyone to accompany me. If Tongning wasn't the one doing this, someone else would have already given up due to all sorts of difficulties. Especially now that the director had passed away and the public were boycotting and scolding her. Worst of all, there was still the slut, President Fan, who was constantly eyeing the film. Not only was he a slut, but he also secretly found out where the Ant Queen was being filmed and took photos of the current situation. He even leaked the photos to the public. This kind of infringement was extremely disgusting. Afterwards, President Fan even instigated the netizens to demand that Tongning kneel down, apologize and stop filming the domestic sci-fi film. It seemed he had thought of all the ways to make Tongning suffer. Of course, because Luo Sheng and Xinglan had both moved to Hairue, they weren't affected as much. But Luo Yinghong wasn't as lucky. All of her recent events were cancelled for no reason. Of course, she didn't pursue the matter because she knew the consequences. However, Luo Yinghong did not blame Tongning. After all, during her most difficult time, Tongning had helped her out. So, even if the entire world was against Tongning, Luo Yinghong would not stand against her. Xiao Sen's memorial service was to be held 5 days later. Although the public was currently cursing at Tongning, they were now extremely respectful towards Xiao Senator after all. Everyone believed that he was tortured to death by Tongning. So with Xiao Sen's past achievements, it was enough for him to gain the public's respect. This was probably what Tongning wanted. Hai Rui's board of directors were a little conflicted about this matter. But after the incident with Director Lin, they did not dare to challenge Mo Ting's authority. Most importantly, Mo Ting did not ask Hai Rui to do PR. This proved, no matter how much the public cursed and attacked them, the couple were still clear-headed. Memorial service? If you dare to show up, I will make sure you return in a miserable state. President Fan scoffed as he looked at Xiao Sen's message. Meanwhile, plenty of people called Hai Rui to complain, telling Tongning to stop causing trouble. Meanwhile, Lu Che felt extremely helpless towards the public's reaction. President Mo Ting pretended not to hear anything. After quite some time, he finally lifted his head and said to Lu Che, "Tomorrow help me hire another 30 people to fill up the customer service department. If anyone makes a phone call, immediately retaliate." But are there still so many events that require the madam to appear on a show? You and I both know the motive behind these shows. Mo Ting looked at Lu Che coldly. How many times has it been? Whenever I see Tongning being scolded, I have always respected her opinion and never retaliated. This time, I will not listen to her. What do you want us to do, President? Pick one of the most representative shows and tell the producers that Tongning will appear. When the time comes, I'll go, Mo Ting replied. Lu Che nodded his head and immediately followed Mo Ting's instructions. In reality, a lot of people thought that Tongning was simply asking to be scolded. She could have done it in secret, but those that understood her knew that she was willing to sacrifice a lot for the sake of her friends. Otherwise, Xiao Sen wouldn't have received so much respect from everyone. Even though he had already passed away, he deserved it. So, this was the only way to let everyone know that he deserved it. Over the next few days, Zihao stayed at home reading through all sorts of documents. It was not until the 4th day that he finally stepped out of his room. When he arrived on set of The Ant Queen, although he hadn't received the acknowledgement of his colleagues, he was confident that he would do his best. Tongning arrived on set with him. As soon as she arrived, the staff immediately defended her. The scolding is too harsh. How can these people be so vicious? That's right. Director Xiao Sen's death was a complete accident. Plus, these people have no idea how much Director Xiao Sen cared about this film and how much he loved it. There's no point talking about this right now. I won't clarify things to the public. So you guys need to focus and tell me in the best way possible that when The Ant Queen is released in 2 years' time, it will be worth the price that we paid today. I'm not afraid of being scolded. I'm afraid that I won't live up to Director Xiao Sen's passion and determination. Please help me. Don't worry, Ningjia. We will treat it like it was when Director Xiao Sen was still around. Zihao, I'll leave everything in your hands. Tongning placed all her hopes on Zihao. Right now, the only person she could trust and find to help her in this industry was Zihao. After all the directors she had worked with in the past were more or less afraid of being slandered. Don't worry, and Zihao patted Tongning on the shoulder. Of course, Tongning had no idea that Mo Ting was going to replace Tongning at an event. The event was to be held at 8 p.m. that night, just before Xiao Sen's memorial service. As soon as night fell, Mo Ting gave Tongning a phone call to tell her that he had something to do and would be home late. Tongning did not suspect anything. Chapter 959. It had been a long time since Tongning had appeared on any programs or interviews because of personal reasons. Apart from a few artists, she had never appeared on any of the Fei Tian Awards. So, now that Xiao Sen's incident had been exposed, why was she suddenly willing to accept an interview? Had she made up her mind and decided to come out and clean up the mess? The television program went into a frenzy of promotions because Tang Ning's appearance meant a huge viewership. But Mo Ting had purposely not let Tang Ning know about it, so she had no idea what was going on. Perhaps in everyone's eyes, Tang Ning was born to be rebellious. Everything she did wasn't for the sake of pleasing the audience. This made some of the audience angry. Why did she never play by the rules? At this moment, 7 p.m., Tang Ning was at home taking care of the two kids as usual, drinking milk and sleeping. However, Mo Zichen refused to close his eyes. Tang Ning ignored him and headed into the kitchen to clean up the mess. When she returned, she found the little rascal had climbed onto the sofa. Tang Ning crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe. Just as she was about to see what the little rascal was up to, she received a phone call from Long Jia. Tang Ning, you have an interview at 7:30 p.m. What do you mean? Tang Ning had no idea what Long Jia was trying to say. What I mean is, boss has accepted an interview for you at 7:30 p.m. It's a live interview, but he didn't tell you about it. Instead, he went to the television station himself, Long Jia explained. Which husband would be able to endure seeing you being slandered like this? Especially when it's a man like boss. So don't always think that it doesn't matter if you're slandered. Even if you don't feel bad, someone else will. Tang Ning looked at the time. It was already 7:10 p.m. Even if she rushed out now, she wouldn't make it in time. No wonder President Mo, who never returned late, said he had something important to deal with today. Turn on the TV and watch President Mo's cool counterattack. After holding it in for so long, I finally feel better. After hearing this, Tang Ning couldn't help but let out a gentle laugh. It must have been hard on Long Jia. When it came to important matters, Long Jia had always been calm and collected. But when it came to her own people, she couldn't hide things. Now that she was able to hold it in for 3 to 4 days, she had improved a lot. Afterwards, Tang Ning put down her phone and turned on the television. At this time, Mo Zichen quietly crawled over to Tang Ning's side and buried his head in his mother's armpit. He looked extremely cute. At 7:15 p.m., in a certain television station, in a certain interview group, the director was flipping out at the staff. Where is Tang Ning? It's almost time for the show to start, so why hasn't he appeared yet? Director, we called Hai Rui to rush them, the staff immediately explained. Right now the entire world has their eyes on Tang Ning. You guys better be on high alert. You need to understand that everyone is scolding Tang Ning, so why are you still being polite to her? Has the content of the interview been delivered to Tang Ning? Yes, it's here. A staff member answered the director nervously. That's not important. After all, the content of today's interview isn't the same as what we showed Tang Ning before. After speaking, the director placed his hands on his hips and looked at the time anxiously. She hasn't even arrived yet. Why is she trying to act all high and mighty? If it wasn't for Hai Rui, I would have told her to leave a long time ago. One look and I can tell she's extremely arrogant. The staff originally listened quietly. After all, it was normal for the director to get angry. Plus, everyone was pressured by his power, so even if they heard him scold someone, they wouldn't spread it around. But as soon as one of them lifted his head and looked at the door, his face turned pale. Originally, he wanted to warn the director to stop talking nonsense, but the more he spoke, the more excited he became. This won't do. Call me again to rush them. No. No need to rush them. If she doesn't show up, then so be it. Just wait and see how I slander her. I'll wait and see how you slander her. A magnetic and dangerous voice suddenly sounded from behind the director. The director turned around and saw Mo Ting standing in the doorway. His heart skipped a beat. Mo. President Mo. Who's so arrogant? Mo Ting asked the director. No, to be exact, he glared at the director. The director's back was covered in sweat as his face turned pale in fear. It was my mistake for a moment. Nothing good comes out of my mouth. I hope President Mo doesn't take offense. Mo Ting let out a laugh without saying a word. But with his king-like authority, the director almost fell to his knees. Inside his head, there was a voice telling him that his career as a director had come to an end. After tonight's recording, I will disappear. At the same time, I hope you disappear. After speaking, Mo Ting turned to the other staff. Tongning isn't feeling well today, so she won't be able to attend the interview. So I will be taking her place. You guys can ask whatever you want. But one thing, if anyone asks any of the questions on the document you gave me earlier, I will make them leave the entertainment industry. Don't you guys like to ask tough questions? Bring it on. No one expected Mo Ting to personally appear. Tongning did not even appear. The staff were trembling in fear, especially the host. As soon as she saw Mo Ting sitting opposite her, she was so scared that her right hand, which was holding on to her script, trembled uncontrollably as sweat soaked the front of her shirt. 7:30 p.m. The interview officially began. As soon as everyone saw Mo Ting appear on the screen, they were a little surprised. But after a moment, they felt it was reasonable. They were disappointed, but not disappointed. Between the couple, no matter who appeared, it would always be a good show and their answers would always be sharp. So the reason Mo Ting appeared on stage today was obviously to protect Tongning. The host was still sweating profusely, but she tried her best to hide it. Her opening speech wasn't smooth enough either. This was probably the most stressful moment in her career, because the person sitting in front of her was none other than the big boss of the industry. And Mo Ting was infamous for being difficult to deal with. Every program had to be prepared beforehand. Even a live interview was no exception. But Mo Ting was sitting here today because he wasn't prepared at all. In other words, he was talking naked. Above all, the host wasn't allowed to ask the questions she had prepared beforehand. After a few minutes of talking, Father Mo looked at her like she couldn't get to the point. Even the audience were getting impatient. The host could sense the ridicule from the audience, so she decided to throw caution to the wind. After all, she might not be able to keep her job. Chapter 960. Since President Mo is sitting here today, I'm going to take the risk and ask you a few questions. Firstly, why are you the one sitting here and not Tongning? Is Tongning afraid? As soon as this question was asked, everyone was shocked. Was the host really going all out? How dare she ask such a question? Meanwhile, across the television screen, the audience began to feel nervous. The host had actually asked such a sharp and tricky question. She was clearly trying to stir up trouble. But the host felt that Mo Ting had forced her to do this. Mo Ting glanced at the host and replied, "It's because I'm her manager and I've spoiled my artist. So, I'm curious about the comments online. Why didn't anyone come looking for me or attack me? Why did they attack my artist instead?" The host was speechless. Who would dare to attack the big boss? As for being afraid, with me as her manager, she's just one step away from reaching for the stars. Hearing this response, which was supposed to be a sharp question that made everyone break out in a cold sweat for Mo Ting. But why did it sound like he was showing off his affection? In short, Mo Ting's words meant that he was the one who spoiled his artist, so why didn't anyone come looking for him? Everyone let out a sigh of relief. Even the host let out a sigh of relief. She was well aware of Mo Ting's strength, so she was afraid that he would lose his temper in front of the entire nation. But it was obvious, her worries were unnecessary. Secondly, can you give a direct response to Qiao Sen's incident? Why did Qiao Sen pass away? Did the hospital not issue a death certificate? He passed away because of a brain hemorrhage, Mo Ting replied in a serious tone. The host was once again stunned. Could the big boss not play word games? Does it have anything to do with Tongning? Yes, Mo Ting replied. Aren't you going to explain? In other words, wasn't he going to use this opportunity to clear his name? Mo Ting shook his head. It's normal for people to grow old and die. Tongning is heartbroken because to her, Qiao Sen was an extremely important friend. Apart from that, there was nothing else. In that case, don't you want to respond to the comments online? The fact that I'm sitting here today is the biggest response. But I don't have any words to say. If you feel that you have evidence and want to seek justice for the deceased, Hairue welcomes you to sue or expose your information. In that case, regarding the fact that Tongning is preparing to film a sci-fi film, she has received a lot of suspicion. Some people even scolded her for being indecent. In your opinion, do you think she is wasting her time? The host asked as she slowly relaxed her fear towards Mo Ting. Although the big boss was ruthless, he still had his limits. Hearing this question, Ting thought for a few seconds before replying. No matter what she's doing, or what she wants to do, I am the first person in the world to know. I didn't stop her, which means what she did was with my permission or support. If someone had tried to stop me from turning Rue into a multinational corporation, it would have been a fool's dream. If I had believed them, Rue would not exist today. There are some things that you don't dare to do, but that doesn't mean that others don't dare to. Just because you can't handle the ridicule of the public, it doesn't mean others can't. The type of people I hate the most are those that don't do things themselves, yet they are humiliated and ridiculed by others. I don't understand why people like that exist. So what my wife is doing may not be successful or right, but she will always move forward for the sake of her goals and accept the consequences of her failures. Since that's the case, why should I stop her? Of course, if you insist on saying that she's not doing her job properly, then we can accept it. After hearing this response, the host was already secretly praising the big boss. She was also beginning to envy Tongning for meeting a man like this. Because as soon as he replied, he placed all the blame on himself and said that he had given his permission before he refuted it. As the big boss, he had to be perfect at diverting attention. After hearing Ting's response, the host was convinced. Ting's response wasn't anything to nitpick about. In fact, it was reasonable and didn't leave any room for others to criticize him. After all, the way he acted and didn't bother to respond to the haters and rumormongers meant that Xiao Sen's death was a simple matter, and there wasn't a story behind it. Rumor has it that Rue spent a lot of effort to control the public's opinion. Did Rue really do all this PR? How could they control the public's opinion? You guys have underestimated Rue's abilities. Some people also said that Tongning could have handled Xiao Sen's death quietly. But why did she post an obituary? Does she mean that no one can understand what she's thinking? I've already answered you earlier. Xiao Sen was a very important friend of my wife. She was very sad that he passed away. Xiao Sen was a complete sci-fi fan, and he wanted to fill the gap in the domestic market. But when he was alive, he wasn't respected or valued. At this point, Ting did not continue. There was no need to say the hidden words. Tongning did this so that Xiao Sen would receive the respect and attention that he deserved after his death. So the host understood Tongning's actions. She was a smart person that would do anything for the sake of her friends. Isn't it because of guilt? The host asked. Perhaps this was what most people were thinking. But Ting shook his head. She doesn't owe anyone. But a lot of people are questioning Tongning's existence because she doesn't seem to fit the bill. President Mo, what do you think of Tongning's value? Firstly, she is my wife. She is an inseparable part of my soul. Secondly, she isn't a savior. She doesn't need to answer to anyone. So she has the freedom to do whatever she wants. This is also the reason why she hasn't responded to the public's comments. Because there's no need. Even if she is a savior, she can only save me. The host nodded her head. It seemed all the sharp questions had been asked at least once. In that case, President Mo, I would like to ask a question that is a bit more distant. Today, you attended the ceremony, whereas last time, Lin Qian attended the Fei Tian Awards. I would like to ask, is Tongning really not feeling well? Or is there another reason? Chapter 961. What I'm trying to say is, ever since the incident with Su Xian, she's been retreating from the industry indefinitely. Does this have anything to do with it? Does she have a knot in her heart? You sure know how to bring up the past. Ting praised the host before he replied. If she doesn't act, she doesn't get in the way of others. If she doesn't want to act, there's no reason for her to do so. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In other words, if others wanted to guess, there was nothing he could do. No, from the way Tongning is acting, I can feel that she is resisting the industry. She's obviously talented, yet she doesn't trust the industry anymore. This is a pity. That's what I'm talking about. Who would have thought that the host would ask such a deep question? Most importantly, she could sense the unfairness in Tongning's heart. My wife, Whether it's as a model, an actress, or a manager, she's already done her best. She's also done her best to protect and take care of the people around her. On the surface, she appears to be a vengeful person, but in reality, she's willing to repay any kindness that others show her. When she was an actress, she was only one step away from becoming an international supermodel. For the sake of stupid, she decided to start from scratch. She's been in the industry for over 10 years and hasn't let anyone down. She's not someone that's afraid of setbacks. Or to put it another way, she doesn't care about what the public thinks of her. Just like you said, the way she's acting right now is like a child that doesn't want to admit defeat. That's why superstar media was established and why she chose to help artists that have experienced ups and downs in their lives. And this turning point was Su Xian's suicide. Why? Is it because of the criticism that the public has towards her? The host asked curiously. But we all know that Su Xian's death was her own choice. Even if she claimed that Tongning forced her to commit suicide, and even if the onlookers attacked Tongning at the time, after so much time has passed, a lot of people have come to understand or have thought things through. They simply don't want to admit that it had nothing to do with Tongning. After hearing this, Mo Ting couldn't help but laugh. In that case, why is Qiao Sen's death my wife's fault? The host was once again left speechless. But the public is saying that my wife is responsible for 2 lives. In other words, Su Xian's incident will never be forgotten. The past scandals will continue to accumulate until new scandals appear. The only purpose of this process is to tell others what else this artist has done in the past. This will increase the hatred of the public towards this artist. No one cares about the truth because they only need gossip. My wife won't step out to cry for help, nor will she step out to clear her name. She doesn't want to waste her time. Since the audience has told her to stop harming people, she has chosen to distance herself from her identity as an actress. Although she didn't say it out loud, she must have made a vow in her heart. In that case, President Mo, do you think there's any way to salvage the situation? Mo Ting shook his head firmly. She knows that she isn't that important to the audience, but she has the right to choose. The interview lasted for 40 minutes, not a minute less. During this time, whenever the host asked a question, Mo Ting did his best to answer it. Some of the topics they talked about were sharp, and some were heavy. The host thought to herself, although Mo Ting answered a lot of her questions indirectly, she could clearly feel that Tongning was a very emotional and interesting person. She could maintain her own personality. If she said she wasn't going to act, then she wouldn't act anymore. Moreover, she was determined to defend her vows. This was an interview that neither the hosts nor the audience could find any explosive points in. Although the questions asked by the hosts were extremely sharp, for some reason, even though the questions were filled with a strong smell of gunpowder, Mo Ting's answers had the ability to instantly calm the anger in the audience. After watching the interview, those that watched it were unable to find any dirt or key points. Mo Ting was good at avoiding the important points and dwelling on the trivial. But in reality, he did reveal a lot of hidden things. For example, the knot that Tongning had formed after Su Xian's suicide. For example, Tongning's resistance. All of these things were supposed to be Tongning's black marks, but for some reason, after watching the interview, a lot of people felt like they had gained a deeper understanding of Tongning. It was like they understood her soul better. After the interview was over, the host stood up and said to Mo Ting, "President Mo, I'm completely convinced." Mo Ting stood up from his chair and adjusted his handmade suit jacket. He then replied, "Tell your director to disappear from the industry. Otherwise, I will help him disappear." After speaking, Mo Ting left the studio in a domineering manner. On the way home, Lu Che said to Mo Ting through the rearview mirror, "President, tomorrow is Qiao Sen's memorial service. The madam will definitely be devastated. Should we do something to protect her? Focus on security. You don't need to do anything else." Mo Ting did not give Lu Che any other instructions. He simply told him that he couldn't allow anything to go wrong at the memorial service. Lu Che did not realize the importance of security, even though he was already doing his best. 9 p.m. Mo Ting returned home. Seeing Tongning sitting on the sofa watching TV, he walked over to her side. Tongning took the opportunity to wrap her arms around Mo Ting's waist. Before she knew it, her tears had already soaked his shirt. For a long time, I thought about Su Xian's death and read the comments online. At that time, I almost believed that I was the culprit. The reason I'm no longer acting in films and television is indeed because of Su Xian. It's because I'm scared of fans. Yesterday they could support your work endlessly, but after a single scandal they tossed you into the abyss. Although I've always known that fans are heartless, the thing that truly hurt me was the incident with Su Xian. I told myself that I would never act again. Even if Tongning didn't say it, Mo Ting knew this. After being married for so long, how could he not sense her rebellious emotions? That's enough. You still need to send Xiao Sun off on his final journey tomorrow. You can't look too bad. Hurry, wash up and go to bed. But because of President Fan's involvement tomorrow, even if he didn't want to look bad, he still had to. Chapter 962. The entire superstar media would be attending Qiao Sen's memorial service. While Lin Qian was preparing her dress, Motherly happened to see her. So, she walked into her daughter-in-law's room and said, "The entire superstar media is full of loyal children." After hearing this, Lin Qian gave Motherly a forced smile. "Qian, get some rest." Lin Qian nodded at Motherly before she gave Li Jin a phone call. 8 a.m. tomorrow. I'll wait for you at the front of your home. I'll go with you. Lin Qian had no objections to Li Jin's suggestion. Although he was at the military base that night and couldn't return home, he would at least do his best to be by his wife's side if he had the chance. The next morning, Lin Qian stepped out of her home. As soon as she saw her husband's military car, she immediately walked over. "Let's go. I'll accompany you to send Qiao Sun off for the last time." Although Qiao Sun hadn't made much of a name for himself in the industry, all of his friends that were able to attend had already arrived at the entrance of the memorial service. There were plenty of reporters and fans waiting outside. However, no matter who came, they simply went through the motions. After all, they were waiting for superstar media and Tongning to show up. At this time, some of the hired actors had already snuck into the crowd with eggs and rocks in their hands, waiting for Tongning's arrival. 9 a.m. The entire superstar media team appeared in front of everyone dressed in black. As soon as the reporters saw Tongning's face, they immediately swarmed over and began to take pictures. The security guards immediately went on high alert. But to everyone's surprise, the fans behind the reporters pulled out eggs from their backpacks and threw them in Tongning's direction. Of course, because of the security guards, the eggs and rocks fell to the ground beside Tongning's feet. "Murderer." As soon as she heard this word, Tongning stopped in her tracks and glared at the fans angrily. Mo Ting immediately stood in front of her. Originally, he wanted to lead her straight into Qiao Sen's morning hall, but Tongning gently pushed him away. She wanted to personally resolve the matter. Mo Ting was a little worried, but he eventually compromised and stayed by Tongning's side. Meanwhile, the entire superstar media team approached the fans that were throwing eggs at them. No one had ever seen a scene like this, and no one had ever seen a member of superstar media with such an aura. The media were so shocked that they quickly moved aside, allowing Tongning to directly interact with the fans behind the media. Tongning did not hesitate as she took a step forward and grabbed onto the hand of one of the fans that had reached into her bag. "Who told you I was the culprit?" The female fan was stunned as she stared at Tongning. "I think you have to pay the price for what you just said. What do you think?" "You killed Qiao Senator, you also killed Su Xian. Do you have any evidence?" Tongning asked straightforwardly. "What evidence do you have? Or did you see it with your own eyes? You heard it with your own ears?" "I saw it on the internet, online." Tongning caught onto the woman's words and glared coldly into her eyes. "Judging from your age, you must be an adult, right? Did I study for nothing? Otherwise, why would you believe this kind of false news? Are you retarded? If not, I really don't understand how someone of your age can't tell right from wrong. Did you know that if your stone had hit me or anyone else here, you would have become the person you hate the most? The culprit. You and the rest of you. Let me warn you one by one that I will identify every single person that threw an egg or a stone at me. It seems if I don't use the law in this world, I won't even dare to step out of my house. Can you guys bear the consequences of intentional assault? Even if you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. According to the law, intentional assault is punishable by up to 2 years in prison, detention or public surveillance. Let's see who gets their comeuppance faster. After speaking, Tongning turned around in a domineering manner. However, a timid fan immediately rushed out of the crowd and grabbed onto Tongning's arm. Don't call the police on me. I did this because I was paid by someone. I didn't know about your news, but someone asked me to do this. For every stone thrown at you, they offered you $1,000. After hearing the girl's words, everyone was shocked, especially the media. Tongning freed herself from the woman's grip and asked, "Who did it?" "I'm not sure. All I know is everyone calls him Wei Ge. I even heard him make a phone call to someone called President Fan and say that he was going to use this event to get revenge on you." After hearing this, Tongning let out a laugh and said to the media, "Today is an important day for Qiao Sun, so I'm going to send him off first. I'm also going to give the mastermind 1 hour. If he doesn't come out and admit to his scheme after 1 hour, then don't blame me for being heartless." Who would have thought that someone would use a trick like this just to deal with Tongning? However, before the media could react, they decided to interview Tongning first. Remembering that they were at a memorial service, the reporters did not follow them in. After all, Tongning would be coming out in an hour, so they decided to wait for a good show. But before Tongning stepped into the memorial hall and saw Qiao Sun's body, she said to Lu Che, "There's something I need your help with immediately. We only have 1 hour." "Yes, madam." Since President Fan wanted to make her bleed, she had no choice but to disgust him a little as a gift in return. After giving her instructions, Tongning entered the memorial hall. As soon as she saw Qiao Sun lying peacefully in his coffin, her eyes immediately turned red. "Qiao Sun, I will never forget everything you've done for the Ant Queen. I will also never forget the years we fought side by side. Don't worry, even if I have to give it my all, I will make sure the Ant Queen is released. I simply hope that I don't disappoint your passion. Superstar Media will take care of your family. Goodbye, my friend. I hope that from now on, you will no longer be in pain in heaven." Tongning walked around the coffin as she gently sent Qiao Sun off. This man, who had given his entire life's work and passion for sci-fi, was still adorable and peaceful even after he left this world. Mo Ting gently wrapped his arm around Tongning's shoulder and helped her wipe away her tears and tuck her hair behind her ear. "Even if you send him off for 1,000 miles, you still have to say goodbye. I'm sure Qiao Sun can sense your determination." Chapter 963. "Right now there are more important things waiting for you to do," Mo Ting hinted. Meanwhile, Tongning was well aware that if she didn't take this opportunity to teach President Fan a lesson, he would continue to cause trouble. So after sending Qiao Sun off, Tongning left the morning hall with the people from Superstar Media. She had already promised them that she would only give them an hour. As soon as the media saw Tongning out, they immediately approached to interview her. As for the fans that had thrown eggs and stones at her, because of the interference of the police, not many of them were left. As a result, the remaining fans were forced to cooperate with the police. "Miss Tang, I'm afraid you will also need to come to the police station to give us a statement," a police officer reminded as he approached Tongning. Tongning glanced at the officer and nodded her head. "I will do my best to cooperate. But before I go to the police station, there is something I want to clarify. Can you give me 10 minutes? The police officer looked at each other and nodded his head helplessly. "Okay, hurry up." Superstar Media's people quickly approached the fans that were being controlled. Tongning, in particular, looked at them coldly. "So, you're not willing to tell me who the mastermind is? If you don't tell me now, you will have to wait until you arrive at the police station. I will also file a lawsuit against you. If you tell me the truth right now, I can guarantee that I won't hold you accountable for what you've done today." There were only a few girls that were being controlled, and they were all in their early 20s. Originally, they didn't care about Tongning, but unfortunately, Tongning had grasped onto their weakness. "I know." At this time, a short-haired girl raised her hand. "I can tell you, but can you guarantee that you won't sue me?" Tongning walked around the people in front of her and looked at the girl with a mole on her nose. She then nodded her head. I'm a man of my word. Okay, it's true that we received money from a sugar daddy. But there's no point in asking these people. They don't know anything and are simply being used. In that case, how much do you know? Tongning asked. As you know, my time is limited. Recently, you've offended someone because of Luo Sheng's matter. After several exchanges, that person has suffered greatly at your hands. That's why he wants to take revenge on you. Even the comments on the internet were incited by him. The short-haired girl was skinny, but her eyes were brimming with energy. Are you talking about President Fan? At this time, Luo Sheng immediately stepped out and asked, Is it because I refused to act in The Pirate Doctor? That's not all. President Fan's brother-in-law is a director at Hai Rui. No one from the outside world knows that Hai Rui has already kicked him out of the board. So President Fan has placed all the blame on Tongning. So whenever he gets the chance, he will make a move against Tongning. This time, it just so happens that Xiao Sun has passed away, so he is using public opinion to attack Tongning. How do you know so much? Tongning asked confusedly. Meanwhile, the surrounding reporters also looked at the young woman curiously. The short-haired girl smiled and replied, Because President Fan's secretary, Wei Ge, has been trying to get close to me multiple times. He also knows that my family isn't well off, so he asked me to participate in this incident and promised me a high salary. As for me, I didn't throw eggs or stones at you. At most, I simply incited everyone's emotions. Okay, that's all that I know. What do you plan to do with me? Since I made a promise to you, I will definitely keep my promise. I won't sue you, Tongning said to the short-haired girl. But let me give you a piece of advice. Not everyone can be messed with and not everything can be done as you please. I was actually tricked into coming here. If I had known that I could receive a high salary in this way, I definitely wouldn't have participated. After speaking, the short-haired girl walked over to the police and told them that she was willing to confess everything. A few of the female fans that were being restrained were quickly taken away by the police. At this time, the media swarmed forward and placed their microphones in front of Tongning. Tongning, what do you think about today's vicious incident? Is President Fan the person in charge of the production of The Pirate Doctor? I wonder, how will you retaliate against President Fan's attempt to frame you? Faced with the pitch-black cameras, Tongning remained calm as she straightened her back and replied, I never knew President Fan was such a vengeful person. You would be so angry just because Luo Sheng refused to act in The Pirate Doctor. I will get to the bottom of what happened today. Otherwise, in the future, others will follow suit and think that I'm easy to bully. So, Superstar Media will officially file a lawsuit against President Fan. If anyone was actually hurt or bled today, then President Fan will be considered a heinous criminal. Competition in the industry has always been cruel. Why must everyone work so hard? Please keep an eye on Superstar Media for the follow-up. After speaking, Tongning left Xiao Sen's memorial service with everyone else under Mo Ting's protection and headed towards the police station. So, Tongning was determined to fight President Fan to the end. Meanwhile, a video of what happened to Tongning outside Xiao Sen's memorial service was soon uploaded online. After all, an act of violence like this was bound to incur the anger of onlookers. How despicable of him to attack someone while they were at their memorial service. It's bad enough that he used eggs, but he even mixed rocks in. Was he trying to kill someone? To be honest, President Fan, who is also the boss of East Film Studios, has always been a hooligan and is the most shameless person in the industry. It's reasonable for him to do something like this because of a personal grudge. But he's too bold to ask someone to pretend to be a fan to hit someone. This is obviously the actions of a thug. The Pirate Doctor is determined to boycott it and support Tongning's right to defend herself. Sitting in his office, President Fan revealed a meaningful smile as he looked at the comments. He was smiling because he wasn't the one that asked for the short-haired woman. His secretary Feng Wei had just confirmed it. In other words, not only did he not hurt Tongning, he was actually set up by Tongning. Being exposed in public, coupled with the media's exaggeration, the police's testimony, And the fact that it was a brutal act in broad daylight, he was in trouble. Why was Tongning such a difficult woman to deal with? President Fan was at a disadvantage, but the evidence was conclusive. Although he could deny it, his reputation was still ruined. It seemed he needed to hire an expert to deal with Tongning. Chapter 964. After giving their statement at the police station, Tongning and the others walked out of the police station. However, there was still a crowd of reporters outside. After all, a public argument like this wasn't common in the industry. So the reporters and the media all wanted to hear from the parties involved. Xinglan and Luo Sheng, go home. There's no need for both of you to be here. Xinglan and Luo Sheng looked at each other and nodded their heads. Okay, Ningjia. Lin Qian was protected by Li Jin, Long Jia was protected by Lu Che, and Tongning was naturally in Mo Ting's arms. No matter what, as long as she was in Mo Ting's embrace, she would feel safe. The reporters rushed forward and turned their flashing cameras towards Tongning and Mo Ting. Tongning, what do you think about what you've experienced today? What people in the industry call dog-eat-dog. President Fan's revenge this time has solid evidence. Can you tell me what you would like him to do? Tongning. For some reason, Tongning suddenly felt a little tired of hearing these harsh questions. Could it be that the media was lacking in attention? I haven't heard about dog-eat-dog yet. Why don't I share my thoughts with you when I hear about it? As for your second question, I don't have any requests from President Fan. Everything must be done according to the law. Holding something dirty in one's hand will only make one want to wash their hands. As for your other questions, I hope you can think about it carefully before you ask. Because you won't hear the answer you want from me today. The reporters raised their microphones and looked at each other. They were all shocked by Tongning's power. At least, the questions they wanted to ask were forcefully swallowed back in their mouths. Move. As soon as the reporters heard Mo Ting's name, they subconsciously took a few steps back and made way. Even if they wanted to get more information from Tongning, who would dare to pull a feather from a tiger's mouth? Tongning, why can't you cooperate with the media a little? Someone in the crowd asked. It was obvious that he was complaining. It's not easy for us to be in this industry. The relationship between artists and the media has always been a delicate one. If you don't cooperate, it will naturally cause others to dislike you and the media will slander you. With your high EQ, I'm sure you understand this. Tang Ning tilted her head and looked in the direction of the voice. She couldn't help but sneer. I will not cooperate with unprofessional media. I will say it here today. You want me to cooperate with you, but your questions are full of aggression, just like how you want me to respond to you when you scold me. It's the same logic. Haven't you noticed? When it comes to creating rumors and creating trouble, the media can come up with anything they want. For example, the dog-eat-dog story. Are you sure the media didn't make it up? It's not easy for you to do this, but do you think it's easy for me? You're a weakling, so you're in the right? I have to take care of your career and your income. Do I have to support your family? I didn't cooperate with the media, and I didn't forbid the media from defaming me. If the media doesn't understand what's called objective truth, then you can spread rumors all you want. I won't say a word. Of course, don't expect me to cooperate. Because you can't even respect the objective facts. You want me to greet you with a smile? After speaking, Tongning and the others left the police station. After boarding the car, Tongning took a deep breath. But it didn't take long before she received a phone call from President Fan. As they had crossed paths a few times in the past, Tongning could easily guess what President Fan wanted to say and what he was planning. President Tang, it's best not to be so extreme. Otherwise, we'll meet again in the future. President Fan, if you have something to say, just say it. Tongning couldn't be bothered with small talk. How about this? Let's each take a step back and pretend this matter is over. You cancel the lawsuit and I promise not to cause you any more trouble. What do you think of this deal? I don't think much of it, Tongning rejected. Because I'm not afraid of you causing trouble for me. President Tang, you need to think this through. Are you sure Superstar Media wants to get involved in this mess? You need to know what kind of path I take in the industry. Aren't you afraid of my methods? I'm not like righteous people like you. I walk a crooked path. If you have the time to negotiate with me, why don't you think about how to protect your position in the agency? After speaking, Tongning hung up the phone. Righteous person? Hearing this, Tongning let out a gentle laugh. President Fan was wrong. She wasn't a righteous person. She simply stuck to her own bottom line as long as people didn't offend her. If the other party took the initiative, then they shouldn't blame her for giving them a taste of their own medicine. You must be tired. Let's go home and get some rest, Mo Ting said as he looked at Tongning's tired expression. Ting, take me to the set. I want to see how Zaheo is getting along with the staff, Tongning replied. As you know, the Ant Queen has cost me a lot of effort. In fact, Xiao Sun even sacrificed his life for it. I don't want any accidents to happen again. Your health is the most important thing right now. After speaking, Mo Ting drove Tongning home and coaxed her to get some rest. I promise, as soon as you wake up, I will take you to the set. In order to reassure Mo Ting, Tongning nodded her head and forced herself to get some rest. However, the image of Xiao Sun lying in his coffin and everything that happened outside the morning hall filled Tongning's mind. Coupled with the aggressive media, Tongning felt physically and mentally exhausted. After seeing Tongning fall asleep, Mo Ting left the bedroom and headed into the study room to give Lu Che a phone call. Arrange for Fong Yu's PR. I don't want to hear that Xiao Sen's death has anything to do with Tongning. Seeing Tongning's exhaustion, Mo Ting's heart ached. Be more forceful. Also, find the reporter that started the rumor today, and make sure he completely disappears from the industry. Also, use this as a warning to his peers. From now on, tell Fong Yu to handle any news regarding Tongning. After all, she is an artist under Hairue. It's only reasonable for Fong Yu to handle her. Yes, President, Lu Che replied. In the end, Mo Ting couldn't hold it in any longer. Although he always said that he wouldn't interfere with Tongning's development and decisions, when Tongning actually got hurt, Mo Ting was still the one that felt heartache. So after a round of interference from Hairue, the rumors of Tongning killing Xiao Sun no longer existed. All that was left was to discuss President Fan's masterpiece outside the morning hall. Not only did Mo Ting want President Fan to be a target and a laughingstock, he also wanted him to stay on the top searches. Chapter 965. As soon as President Fan's incident was exposed, coupled with Mo Ting's help in the industry, President Fan's situation became a little awkward. At least, the industry was built around seeking benefits and avoiding harm. So, it was only natural for people to avoid trouble. As a result, President Fan lost quite a bit of money. Even the pirate Dr. Saint was affected quite a bit. The other investor withdrew their investment just like that, without even giving a heads up. And all of this was because of Tongning. After all, President Fan knew better than anyone that the show at Xiao Sen's memorial service was arranged by Tongning herself. Tongning had made him suffer a loss that he had never suffered in his entire life. As a result, President Fan went deep into the mountains to look for his retired grandfather. As the Fan family had always had a background in the underworld, Elder Fan hid in the mountains to prevent his enemies from finding him. Although President Fan went to the mountains with the excuse of visiting Elder Fan, his real intention was to gain some experience in dealing with people. After listening to you talk about this woman, she seems to be quite courageous. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so helpless. Grandfather, she is Mo Ting's woman. You know how ruthless Mo Ting is. If Tongning didn't have Mo Ting's protection, I would have crushed her a dozen times over. President Fan said as he poured a cup of tea for Elder Fan. President Fan said as he poured Elder Fan a cup of tea. That's why I wanted you to give me some pointers. Elder Fan glared at President Fan and scoffed. But he still doted on his grandson, so he said, the young woman you're talking about is a loyal person. But all loyal people have one weakness: the people around them. She's not easy to deal with, nor is Mo Ting easy to deal with. What about everyone else? Don't tell me you can't even deal with the people around Tongning? Luo Sheng had a direct connection with the pirate doctor, so he couldn't make a move. Otherwise, he would be revealing his true identity. Meanwhile, out of the people around Tongning, Lin Qian was the weakest. Although Lin Qian was the heiress of the Gu family, She had yet to return to the family. Plus, she was married to a military man that was often away from home, so dealing with her was a lot easier. Elder Fan is indeed better at chess. It's best if you don't make a move now. Observe for a while first. Now is the time where the wind and the waves are the fiercest. Others will also increase their vigilance. If you make a move now, it's the same as rushing into a trap. So calm down first, endure it, and wait for the right time. Director Fan nodded. In the end, it was still the older generation who could see things clearly. It doesn't matter if you suffer a bit now. In any case, you still have a chance to get it back. Let her take advantage of you for the time being. When she relaxes, you can attack her vitals. At that time, she will be caught unprepared. The old man's words were true. Indeed, it was not suitable for him to continue showing his face in public. He could first keep a low profile and recuperate. He wanted to see how far Tongning could go. So, from the looks of it, President Fan did not do any public relations, nor did he try to please the audience. It was as if he had given up. Although he was being scolded, as long as he didn't watch the news, it didn't matter. As for the money, he could lose it now, but he could always earn it back in the future. But he wasn't going to let Tongning off easy. I heard that President Fan was extremely cooperative with the police's investigation. This doesn't suit his character at all. Has he suddenly realized his mistake? Long Jie scoffed at the jerk. All he did was refuse to act in his film. Was it necessary for him to go this far? That's just the cause. Everything that happened afterwards was simply an accumulation of hatred. Luckily, the public doesn't have high hopes for the Ant Queen, and doesn't think it's a threat. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have found a way to destroy it. This is a blessing in disguise. But Tongning did not dare to let her guard down. Although she had caused President Fan to suffer a huge loss, she didn't expect him to simply let it go. It seemed she would need to be more careful from now on. The public was currently paying close attention to President Fan's incident. On the other hand, Tongning's conflict with the media also took up a lot of space. It could be seen that she really hated the presence of the media in front of her. Since she hated it so much, why did she stay in the entertainment industry? Aren't you being very fake when you're so proud and unyielding? If she despised the media so much, then she shouldn't have used it as a channel. Tongning was aware of the criticism, but she simply pretended not to see it, and turned a deaf ear to what was going on. There were too many things that she cared about, and wanted to change. Every single part of the industry was filled with conflict and scheming. Because of the benefits, everyone was tightly bound together. Long Jie noticed the complicated expression on Tongning's face, so she reminded her carefully, "You're pregnant, so you tend to overthink things. Tongning, you've been in the industry for so many years. Haven't you realized that there are some things that you can't change on your own? Just focus on doing what you love. Don't worry about anything else. If everyone grits their teeth, the result will definitely be shocking." Tongning nodded her head. She suddenly wanted to ask herself if she really didn't love her career anymore. The answer was no. Otherwise, she wouldn't have persisted with the production of The Ant Queen. Why did she have to care about the opinions of so many people, when she could focus on nothing in the past? With this thought, Tongning smiled at Long Jie. "I understand. You should go home and get some rest." To her surprise, President Fan did not cause trouble for her again. Because he rejected the pirate doctor. Luo Sheng was classified as an actor with a conscience, and was referred to as a genuine talent. This helped him build a solid foundation when it came time to accept more resources. At least, the public received one thing. This actor didn't act in bad films. Soon, Tongning arrived on the set of The Ant Queen. She wanted to see if Nziheo needed any help. But just like Qiao Sun, Nziheo was immersed in the world of sci-fi. I suddenly understand why Qiao Sun was so excited. It's because your film is amazing. I'm still struggling in many areas, but don't worry, since you've entrusted me with this task, I will definitely do my best. Thank you, Nziheo, Tongning thanked from the bottom of her heart. Your man's acting isn't just for show. Hearing this sudden compliment, Tongning also smiled. In another 3 months, the film would be completed. Tongning originally thought it would be a long time. But with Nziheo's hard work day and night, Filming ended in just 2.5 months. That night, while everyone was celebrating on set, Lin Qian received a phone call from Motherly. Chapter 966. Qian Air. What's wrong, Mom? I'm still on set. I don't know when I'll be back. Li Jin can come back later, please. Qian, listen to me. Li Jin won't be coming back. Motherly suddenly interrupted as she sobbed. Lin Qian froze for a moment. Her left hand was still holding on to a glass of red wine. As soon as she heard that Li Jin wouldn't be coming back, she was so shocked that she couldn't care less. Mom, he won't be coming back today. He might never be coming back. After hearing this, Lin Qian immediately threw away her wine glass and rushed towards the exit of the set like a madman. Tongning noticed Lin Qian's reaction, but with her 7 to 8 month pregnant belly, it wasn't convenient for her to chase after her. So, she asked Long Jie to hurry up and ask her. Long Jie quickly grabbed onto Lin Qian's arm and asked, "What happened? Don't stop me. I want to go home now." "I'll take you home. How are you going to return home in your current state?" Long Jie quickly held on to Lin Qian. She wanted to be her chauffeur and help her calm down. But just as they boarded the car, Lin Qian suddenly fainted. Long Jie was shocked as she quickly notified Tongning. Soon they rushed her to the hospital. After a quick examination, the doctor discovered that Lin Qian was pregnant. She had simply fainted because she had received too much shock. "Doesn't Lin Qian know she's pregnant?" Long Jie asked as she lifted her head. Tongning shook her head and immediately asked Lu Che to contact the Li family. As soon as Mother Li received the news, she rushed over to the hospital anxiously. It was obvious that Mother Li was anxious. In fact, her eyes were red like she had been crying. Qian, you silly child. How could you not know you're pregnant? Now Li Jin won't be coming back." As soon as everyone heard this, they understood the meaning behind Mother Li's words. "Why isn't Li Jin coming back?" Long Jie asked. While on a mission, he was attacked by an enemy and his plane crashed. Mother Li did not have the courage to say the last word. No wonder Lin Qian was so emotional. No wonder. "It's all my fault." Mother Li was such a cheerful and lively person, but now she was constantly crying. Seeing this, Tongning was quite touched. It didn't take long before Lin Qian woke up. But the first thing she did was sit up straight and run towards the door. Qian. Mother Li rushed over to help her. "Silly child, you're pregnant. You can't fall like this." Upon hearing the word pregnant, Lin Qian froze. It was as if he couldn't believe it. But after repeated confirmations, she finally accepted the fact that she was pregnant. But what about Li Jin? The base is currently searching for Jin Air's whereabouts. Before we receive any concrete information, we cannot lose hope, right? Mother Li comforted Lin Qian. Even if you don't think about yourself, you have to think about the child in your stomach. This is the child of you and Jin Air, so it is the flesh and blood of the Li family. We will also be heartbroken, Qian. Seeing Mother Li crying, Lin Qian finally forced herself to calm down. "Let's wait for a while. I'll wait for a while." Lin Qian did not say anything. To be exact, at this moment, her heart was so bitter that she couldn't say anything. She had a child, but what about her husband? Although she already knew that Li Jin's identity meant that every mission he went on was a life and death struggle, when the day finally arrived, she still couldn't accept it. Seeing Lin Qian's expression, Tongning walked over and pulled her into her embrace. She placed her face against her stomach and allowed her to feel the strength of life. "I believe that he will be found in the end. Do you believe that?" Lin Qian looked at Tongning in a daze. But Tongning patiently asked again. "Do you believe that?" In the end, Lin Qian nodded her head. She didn't believe in miracles, but she was willing to believe in Tongning because Tongning could create miracles. At this moment, Lin Qian calmed down and was finally able to communicate normally. She wanted to be optimistic, even though all she could do was cry in the dead of the night. "It was such a great celebration party, but I never expected to receive such bad news. Sometimes, it's hard to believe that this is fate." "You're the one that refuses to accept your fate the most," Mo Ting said as he drove. "Just like you believe, he will definitely be found. If you don't believe in yourself, then Lin Qian's determination will eventually waver. Out of all of us, she's the most unfortunate. Why can't fate be a little kinder to her? Losing a loved one is the cruelest thing in the world, Tongning said before she looked at Mo Ting. After speaking, Tongning looked at Mo Ting. Actually, not only Lin Qian, if I was in her position, I would also break down. I can give up on everything else, but I definitely want you. If something happens to you, then I really don't know how I'm going to survive. Mo Ting rubbed Tongning's neck and continued to drive. Don't think too much. Regardless of everything else, Lin Qian's incident made the entire superstar media suffer. But at this time, President Fan, who had been tempted by superstar media for a long time, finally received news that Lin Qian was in the hospital. After asking around, he confirmed that not only was Lin Qian pregnant, her military husband might not be coming back. This is the perfect timing. Lin Qian is extremely fragile at this time. It's the perfect time to use her. Didn't Tongning say that she's not afraid of me? I'm going to see how she can be more shameless than me. It was at this time that a huge conspiracy was about to begin. 3 days later, Lin Qian and Mother Li received news that Li Jin had still not been found. The faster they waited, the higher their chances of survival. So the longer they waited, that meant, Qian, why don't we wait a little longer? Lin Qian looked at Mother Li without saying a word. She simply smiled weakly. Don't worry, Jin Air will definitely come back. He's so capable. I know. Lin Qian continued to trust Tongning. After all, Tongning had promised that Li Jin would definitely come back. But the next morning, Mother Li gave Tongning a phone call. Xiaoning, Qian has disappeared. I suspect she went to the military base to look for Jin Air again. What should we do now? She's a pregnant woman, how can I not worry? Auntie, if you don't let her go, she will definitely break down. So, let her try this once. I will send someone to protect her. Haze. Mother Li was completely at a loss. In that case, Xiaoning, I can only rely on you. Tongning could actually understand Lin Qian's feelings. If she was in Lin Qian's shoes, she would have done the same thing. But she also needed to consider her own safety. Chapter 967. Tongning told Lu Che about Lin Qian's disappearance and asked him to help her find her location. But Lin Qian seemed to be doing this on purpose to prevent others from finding her. She knew that if her family and friends got involved, her hands would be tied. Her only goal now was to find Li Jin. If Li Jin wasn't around, even if she was pregnant, her life would be meaningless. So even with Lu Che's extensive information network, it was impossible for him to find out where Lin Qian was hiding. Madam, it seems we won't be able to find Lin Qian anytime soon. What should we do? In that case, let's go find out where Li Jin's plane crashed. She'll definitely go there, Tongning replied. Okay, I'll go right away, madam. Lin Qian didn't want to be found, so she pretended to be a backpacker and headed towards the location of Li Jin's plane crash. It was a quiet tourist town, and the location of the plane crash was located in a nearby valley. The valley had already been flattened by the search and rescue team, but there was still no news of Li Jin. It wasn't that she didn't trust the search and rescue team, but in this world, no one understood Li Jin better than she did. Because she understood this man, as long as Li Jin left a trace, she would definitely be able to find it. But she had no idea that President Fan had also sent someone to stay with her at the hostel. What's that woman doing here on her own? Who knows? She seems to have cut off all contact with the outside world. In that case, when should we make our move? The two men stayed opposite Lin Qian as they discussed when to make their move. But they couldn't understand why Lin Qian had come to this town. Let's wait and see. A pregnant woman can cause so much trouble. Perhaps we don't even need to make a move. Okay, let's go take a look tomorrow. Lin Qian planned to enter the valley early in the morning, so she decided on a route with the hostel owner. Miss, you're also here because of the plane crash, right? The owner had already heard about the plane crash a long time ago, so anyone that was heading towards the valley was most likely related to it. The person that crashed was my husband, Lin Qian said as she looked at the owner. Lin Qian choked up as she looked at her boss and said, So boss, if you really know anything, Please tell me. Then you're really pitiful. The boss sighed and shook his head. Miss, it's not that I don't want to help you, but the things about the army are just rumors. At that time, no one saw it at all. Lin Qian lowered her head in disappointment. Since you want to enter the valley, I can let my daughter bring you in. The boss pointed at the girl who was serving the guests in the hall and said, Don't look down on her because she is a woman. She went to a martial arts school to protect this hotel. After you go in, you can take care of her. Thank you, boss. The next morning, Lin Qian and the owner's daughter set off for the valley together. Meanwhile, the people sent by President Fan managed to piece together the reason for Lin Qian's visit. It was most likely related to her military husband. From the looks of it, he was undoubtedly looking for someone. The two men quickly relayed the news to President Fan. As soon as President Fan heard the news, he laughed. If Lin Qian is really here to look for her husband, why don't you pretend to be a nearby villager and tell her that you have news of Li Jin? Then you can lure her to a dangerous place. Then you can contact Tongning. But she's a pregnant woman. Are you guys pitying a pregnant woman? Have you ever pitted yourself against me when I've suffered a huge loss? Don't waste time talking nonsense with me. Just do as I say. As President Fan's subordinates, they couldn't go against their employer's wishes. Even if they didn't want to, they still had to follow orders. So, the two men quickly entered the valley to get ahead of Lin Qian. Along the way, they asked around for information about the dangerous places nearby. Then they disguised themselves as villagers and waited for Lin Qian to take the bait. Meanwhile, Lu Che searched the entire town and finally found the place where Lin Qian was staying. Unfortunately, she had already headed towards the valley. As soon as the boss of the hotel saw Lu Che and his men looking for Lin Qian, he immediately asked, Are you also here to protect the young miss? Boss, is she not alone? No, there are two other men following her. They are staying opposite her. I thought they were here to protect her, but from the looks of it, that's not the case. From the looks of it, they seem to be following and monitoring her. Then where are they? As soon as the young miss left, they probably followed her into the valley, the boss replied. As Lin Qian had already left, Lu Che had no way of confirming her safety. All he could do was give Tongning a phone call to confirm what he should do. After hearing this, Tongning fell into deep thought. She couldn't figure out who was following Lin Qian and what their motive was. First, check the hostel's surveillance cameras and find out who the two men are. Lu Che spent a little more time asking around. After a few twists and turns, he finally confirmed who the two men were working for. So he immediately reported his findings to Tongning. Madam, those two men are President Fan's men. President Fan. Tongning was a little surprised. Who would have thought that after a few months, President Fan still wouldn't give up? What else does he want? I never thought that President Fan would hold such a deep grudge. Lu Che, take some men to chase after Lin Qian. I'll contact President Fan and see what he wants. Lin Qian was already in a difficult situation. If President Fan continued to interfere, would Lin Qian end up like Li Jin and never come back? With this thought, Tongning immediately gave President Fan a phone call. On the other end of the phone, President Fan said lazily, Oh, Hairue is quite capable. I didn't expect you to find out so quickly. What do you want? Just tell me. Tongning asked straightforwardly. Don't try to hurt Lin Qian. If she loses a single hair because of you, I will make sure your entire family dies with her. Tiathei. Did you think I would be afraid after hearing President Tang's tone? Tell me what you want first. I want you to suffer. By now, my subordinates have probably successfully led Lin Qian to the most dangerous place. Tongning, how about this? If you go and rescue her on your own, I'll tell you where she is. President Fan seemed to have grasped Tongning's weakness as he teased. My idea isn't bad, isn't it? But I don't think you'll go personally. After all, even if you want to, President Mo won't let you. But if you don't go, then Lin Qian will have no choice but to. Chapter 968. The decision is in your hands. I'll give you 2 hours to think about it. After speaking, President Fan laughed out loud and hung up the phone. He believed that as long as he managed to threaten Tongning, it would be considered his victory. But Tongning wasn't the type of person he expected. The more tense the situation, the deeper she hid her emotions and the calmer she was. So there was no way she was going to accept President Fan's suggestion. Not only that, she was going to make him pay the heaviest price. After speaking to President Fan, Tongning immediately gave Mo Ting a phone call and explained the situation they were in and how President Fan was threatening them. After hearing from President Fan, Mo Ting sat in silence in his office. After quite some time, he finally asked with uncertainty, "You won't be going, right?" "Of course I will be going, but I need to plan carefully," Tongning replied. "You will arrange everything for me, won't you?" "Ting, you know me. I don't like being threatened. If I have no choice, I will use extreme methods." After hearing this, Mo Ting and his wife understood each other. "I understand. I'll let you know in 2 hours." Tongning knew that Mo Ting understood what she was thinking. So, all she had to do now was help Lu Che find Lin Qian as soon as possible. By this time, it was already 10 p.m. Lin Qian and the hostel owner's daughter asked around and finally found a nearby farmhouse where they could spend the night. However, the two brothers at the farmhouse were especially friendly towards Lin Qian and Mo Ting. "May I ask why the two of you have come to a remote place like this?" "We are here to look for someone." "Are you also here because of the plane crash?" the older brother asked Lin Qian. "You might not believe me, but when the plane crashed, I was tending to my sheep nearby. Because the crash was too loud, my flock of sheep scattered, so I chased after them all over the place." "What else?" "Also, I met a soldier who was covered in wounds. He was tall and skinny, and he walked down the canyon. Because I was afraid, I didn't dare to show myself to ask him. Could it be that you're looking for him?" As soon as Lin Qian heard this, she grabbed onto the man's shirt and asked, "Did you really see him?" "I really saw him. How could I lie about something like this? He's still alive. Yes, he can still walk. However, there are many wild beasts downstream. I don't know if he can make it out." The man said helplessly, "We're all from the mountains. We've never seen the outside world, so we don't know if it's good or bad. So I don't dare to get close to him." As soon as Lin Qian heard this, tears began to form in her eyes. It seemed, all she wanted to do right now was to enter the depths of the canyon and search for Li Jin. However, the hostel owner's daughter kept sizing up the two brothers. She felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Ningxiang. "Miss Lin, I know you're very anxious right now, but it's getting dark and we can't go in. Plus, no one has been to the center of the canyon before, so we don't know what's there. Even if you want to go, you'll have to hold on until tonight," the hostel owner's daughter said seriously. "Don't be stubborn." After Lin Qian heard this, she nodded her head. If she was alone, she might have a chance. But she was carrying someone with her, so she couldn't ignore their safety. "Then you better be obedient and rest early to recover your energy." Lin Qian did as she was told. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. It was already the 2-hour time limit that President Fan mentioned, but Tongning continued to wait for Mo Ting's phone call. Finally, at the last minute, Tongning's phone rang. "I've already done what you wanted me to do." "Is it his daughter or wife?" "They're both here," Mo Ting replied. The conversation between the two men was short, but it was the main point. To put it simply, Mo Ting had given President Fan's daughter and wife a taste of his own medicine by inviting them to one of Hai Rui's hotels to enjoy a sumptuous dinner. Afterwards, Tongning gave President Fan a phone call. "Have you made up your mind? Are you going to go or not?" President Fan asked. Tongning looked at the time and asked, "President Fan, I'm currently treating your daughter and wife to dinner. I'm sure you don't mind, do you?" President Fan never expected that Tongning would do something like this. She was going to give him a taste of his own medicine. So he wasn't prepared for it. He never expected that Tongning would actually do something like this. "I've always thought that President Tang is a righteous person and wouldn't resort to such underhanded methods. I've always treated people differently. I treat people with the attitude of a servant, but I treat a wolf with the ruthlessness of a wolf. So, are you going to tell me where Lin Qian is?" Tongning asked. "Since we've already formed a grudge, I don't plan to hold back anymore. Let's make a bet. I'll treat your wife and daughter the same way you treat Lin Qian. President Fan gritted his teeth. He never expected that he would once again be the one being played by Tongning. Tongning, you're going to die a horrible death. I never expected anything good to happen to anyone that provoked you. But don't compete with me in terms of ruthlessness. You can't beat me. Of course, President Fan didn't want to compromise, so he threatened. If you're so capable, go ahead and hold them captive. Let's see how you explain yourself to the police. I don't need to explain myself. Even if I end up in jail, I still have Mo Ting and my 2 sons. I still have the Tang family and the Mo family. With so many people around, I'm sure I can make you suffer a fate worse than death. Oh, by the way, I'm sure you know how Ting is. He's not someone that you can afford to offend. I'll give you 1 night to think about it. I want an answer tomorrow morning. After speaking, Tongning hung up the phone. This time she was the one in charge. Actually, after Mo Ting picked up President Fan's wife and daughter, he explained everything to her. President Fan's wife was a righteous person and didn't want her husband to commit any more crimes, so she agreed to stay at the hotel. Mo Ting, of course, took good care of them. After all, he couldn't be compared to the jerk President Fan. As a result, both sides were in a heated situation. Neither side was willing to give in. Meanwhile, Lu Che was also trying his best to find Lin Qian. At this moment, Lin Qian had no idea that because of her, a battle between Tongning and President Fan was about to break out. She only dreamt of Li Jin in her dreams. In her dream, Li Jin looked even bigger. Qian, don't look for me, don't. Lin Qian woke up with a start. As she sat up, her eyes were filled with tears. Luckily, it was already morning. Otherwise, she wouldn't have known how she would survive the long night. It didn't take long before she and Ning Xiang arrived. At this time, Tongning received a phone call from President Fan. I won't tell you where Lin Qian is. If you want to take the mother and daughter's life, then go ahead and take it. Chapter 969. For the sake of revenge, you're willing to give up your wife and daughter. President Fan, you sure are ruthless. Tongning sneered through the phone. I'd like to see how you're going to save Lin Qian. President Fan's voice was filled with a sense of victory. But Tongning did not panic. She simply retorted calmly, President Fan, don't overestimate your own abilities and don't underestimate others. Did you really think that I can't do anything to you? What else can you do? Right now all you can do is argue with me, right? Tongning laughed and handed the phone to President Fan's wife. His wife hesitated for a minute before she finally gathered her courage and said, I never thought that you would treat Yaorao and my life so lightly. As soon as President Fan heard that his wife was talking about him, he was a little moved, but he refused to admit defeat. It's not like you've only known me for a day. I can't allow anyone to use my weakness against me. I can't have any weaknesses. You should have known from the day we got married. Plus, I don't only have you and Nyonyo as my daughter. That's enough. President Fan's wife burst into tears. Back then, you used my background to pursue me. Now that you're successful, all you've got is this face. Indeed, as you expected, Tongning won't do anything to me because she's not you. I knew it. After speaking, President Fan was about to hang up the phone. But at this time, his wife said something in despair that made President Fan's heart skip a beat. Nyonyo and I will return to the U.S. But before that, I will hand over the evidence of your involvement in the gray areas to the police. President Fan froze for a moment and didn't know what to do. But, after calming himself down, he laughed. How could you possibly have this evidence? I've never dealt with things in front of you. You don't believe me? How did your last assistant die? President Fan was shocked when he heard that. Did you think that I didn't plan a way out for myself after being by your side for so many years? You are a complete jerk, and I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. After speaking, President Fan's wife handed the phone to Tongning. As soon as Tongning received the phone, she asked, How is it? Can you tell me where Lin Qian is? President Fan was so angry that he flipped the table in front of him. Tongning, if you dare act recklessly, I will never forgive you. I'm not interested in your dirty business. All I want is Lin Qian's whereabouts. As for your wife and daughter, I will send them directly to the US. The slut has already headed into the depths of the valley. Go and find her yourself, President Fan said. Tongning, you're ruthless. With that, President Fan hung up. Tongning put away her phone and turned to look at President Fan's wife and daughter. I've arranged for you to go to the US. Is that okay? As long as I go to America, it will be my family's territory. He will never be able to hurt me again. Moreover, he will not be in the mood to find trouble with you, because he will think of ways to deal with me. All right. Tongning looked at the mother and daughter and thought to herself, President Fan's sins were enough to send him to the 18th level of hell. So he thought he could continue to be free and unfettered? From President Fan's words, Tongning could tell that he had simply lured Lin Qian to a dangerous place without actually doing anything to her. But even so, being in a dangerous place like this was enough to be fatal for a pregnant woman. Tongning immediately gave Lu Che a phone call. After an entire night of searching, Lu Che finally found out where Lin Qian was headed. However, according to the locals, no one had ever returned alive from the depths of the valley. It was so dangerous that not many people went there. Lu Che immediately contacted the local police to help them find Lin Qian. Hopefully it wasn't too late. Lin Qian and Ning Xiang walked along the road, but Ning Xiang still felt that something wasn't right. Miss Lin, it's not that I want to pour cold water on you, but there's one thing that I need to clarify with you. Lin Qian glanced at Ning Xiang and nodded her head. Go ahead. The two brothers from last night said that they were sheep herders, but they didn't smell like sheep at all. Plus, their skin was soft and tender. They didn't look like farmers at all. As for the older brother, he said that he saw soldiers heading into the depths of the valley. Anyone that wants to survive wouldn't go too deep into the valley. A normal person might go the wrong way, but soldiers are in the air, so they should be familiar with the location and the surrounding terrain. So, do you think they have an ulterior motive? Lin Qian continued. Last night, I already thought things through. But I felt that hope was right in front of me. On one hand, I wanted to see if the two brothers would catch up to me. On the other hand, I wanted to lie to myself. But it's about time to stop. Let's head back. Huh. Ning Xiang thought she had heard wrong. You heard right. I said let's head back. My husband is a man with an indomitable spirit. For the sake of his country, he is willing to sacrifice his life. If I stubbornly do things and hurt you, wouldn't I be going against his beliefs? Even if I find him, he won't forgive me. Plus, like you said, I don't think he's the type of person that would go too deep into the valley. Let's head back first and look for other clues. So you've still retained your rationality, Ning Xiang suddenly laughed. I thought. I won't stop looking. I have a feeling that he's still alive. In that case, what do you plan to do with the two brothers? Let's head back to the town first and then we'll come up with a plan, Lin Qian replied. Okay. So when the two brothers thought they had succeeded and gave President Fan a phone call, they did not receive any praise. After all, President Fan was currently struggling to come up with a way to keep his wife and child in Beijing. Left with no choice, President Fan directly gave Elder Fan a phone call. As soon as Elder Fan heard the entire story, he cursed, "Idiot! You've lost the bigger picture because of a small mistake. Let's see how you're going to clean up this mess. Grandfather, you need to help me. Otherwise, I'm finished. How can you possibly go up against the Mo and Tang families in Beijing? If you continue to make a big deal out of this, you will be the one to suffer. Stop right now." But I can't guarantee that Tongning doesn't know anything. I'm wondering if... You bastard, don't even think about it. Don't you know how much influence Tongning has in Beijing? How dare you touch her? It's fine if it's just a small matter, but don't think about creating a bigger problem. If that happens, Emoting will skin you alive. Problems in the entertainment industry should be resolved within the industry. Don't go anywhere else and get out of hand. Also, don't alert the police. How many times can you handle this? Chapter 970. Does that mean I can't get my revenge? President Fan was unconvinced. How fucking frustrating. Luckily, Lin Qian had already gone deep into the valley. No matter how capable Tongning was, she couldn't find Lin Qian immediately. So this was the only thing that made him feel lucky. However, he had no idea that Lin Qian had already returned to town. As soon as she returned to town, Lin Qian heard that Lu Che had been looking for her everywhere. She knew that she had let Tongning down, but she couldn't say anything about it. But Lu Che quickly received news that Lin Qian had returned to the hotel. So when he saw her, he finally relaxed. Did you know that we had to search for you for a long time? Because of you, the Madam and President Fan were just short of pointing a gun at each other. So, the two men that were following me were President Fan's men? Lin Qian finally understood why she had been lured to the valley. What do you think? But at least you didn't disappoint us. You still have a good sense of judgment. The Madam's protection of you wasn't wasted. In that case, have you caught the two men? Lin Qian asked. We've already found their whereabouts. Do you want to go look for trouble? Lu Che asked as he raised an eyebrow. Of course. Lin Qian replied as she lifted her head. She wasn't going to let something like this go. How dare they use Li Jin to lie to her? You don't need to be too desperate about Li Jin. I'm sure there will be news of him. I know, Lin Qian replied confidently. I can feel that he's not dead. He's definitely not dead. Okay, let's go then. The two men are currently eating in the dining room. Lu Che said as he glanced at the dining room. Go ahead and greet them. I'll be right there. Lu Che nodded his head and led his men over to the table where the two men were seated. He then sat down beside them. I heard from the hotel owner that the two of you have been following Lin Qian for a few days. As soon as the two men looked at Lu Che, they immediately knew who he was, so their eyes began to flicker. Mister, are you sure you've got the wrong person? Weren't the two of you the ones that lured Lin Qian to the valley? Where's the fake shepherd? Lu Che laughed as he crossed his arms. President Fan's people don't seem that smart. Seeing that their identities had been seen through, the two of them no longer had anything to hide. They directly said to Lu Che, you don't need to mock us, we all have our own masters. Right now, Lin Qian has already gone to the canyon. If you have the ability, go and find her. Who knows, maybe she's already been eaten by wild beasts. Did you think that superstar media's people are as brainless as the two of you? Lu Che laughed as he pointed to their foreheads. What do you mean? Lu Che looked past the two of them and pointed to a spot not too far away with his chin. Look for yourself. The two of them turned around at the same time and saw Lin Qian walking towards them unscathed. The two of them were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. How is this possible? I saw her heading towards the amphilas. However, Lin Qian did not show any mercy. As soon as she arrived at the dining table, she poured the boiling hot coffee onto the head of one of the men. Trash! Cries of pain could be heard from all over the hostel. All the guests turned to look at them, but Lu Che deliberately blocked their view. Most importantly, the owner of the hostel told the guests they were caught kidnapping a child. As soon as the guests heard this, they gritted their teeth. Someone like that deserves it. So when the two men were scalded, no one came to their rescue. Lu Che waited until Lin Qian had vented her anger before he called the nearest hospital. Have you vented your anger now? Much better? Lin Qian lowered her head and suddenly thought of Li Jin. I don't care about anything right now. I just want him to come back alive. You definitely will. Lu Che patted Lin Qian on the shoulder. At this time, Lin Qian finally turned on her phone and received a call from an unknown number. As soon as Lin Qian saw the caller, she immediately picked up the phone excitedly. Li Jin, is that you? Li Jin? Sister-in-law, I'm not the chief, but I have good news for you. The chief is fine and has been rescued. He's currently in Beijing and was flown in last night. Is he really fine? Lin Qian asked to confirm. He's really fine. But I'm afraid he won't be able to return home anytime soon. In that case, where is he? I'll go look for him. You'll know when you get back, the man stuttered. The man stuttered and did not explain himself clearly. But, as long as he was still alive, that was the best thing that could happen to Lin Qian. Lu Che had already heard that Li Jin was still alive, so he was happy for Lin Qian. There's always a way out. Looks like God still favors the good. Since that's the case, let's hurry back to Beijing. Okay, I'll go make arrangements. After speaking, Lu Che turned and left, leaving Lin Qian to bid farewell to the hostel owner. However, the hostel owner looked at Lin Qian with a smile. I never expected you to be the assistant of a famous celebrity. I heard from my daughter that your artist is her favorite actor. What's her name? Tongning. Thank you, boss. If you really want to thank me, then help me get Tongning's autograph. Treat it as a form of repayment for taking a risk with you. Don't worry, it's a small matter. It didn't take long for Tongning to receive Lin Qian's message. Ningjia, I'm sorry. I always cause trouble for you. You are a part of Superstar Media, so you are my relative. It's not troublesome, Tongning replied. As long as you're fine, everything else is fine. After offending President Fan like this, will he deal with you even more harshly? This was what Lin Qian was worried about. Since President Fan was able to lure her to such a dangerous place, it meant that he could do something even more insane. When the time comes, we'll deal with it as it comes. But right now, he probably doesn't have the energy to find trouble with me. Alright, we'll talk about it when you come back. The two chatted for a while more before hanging up. At this moment, Lin Qian was eager to return home. It didn't take long for President Fan to receive the news. When he found out that Lin Qian hadn't fallen for his trap, he was so angry that he almost smashed the house to pieces. Who would have thought that the people at Superstar Media were all smart people and weren't easy to trick? But whether or not his wife had said anything in front of Tongning remained a thorn in his heart. But he couldn't do anything about it, so he could only rely on the old man. This is the only time I'm going to meet this woman. But don't do it again. The old man humphed. How did the Fan family produce a coward like you? But if you ask her out, she won't show up. I have my ways. I want to see how powerful this woman is. Chapter 971. As soon as Lin Qian arrived in Beijing, someone from the Air Force Base went to pick her up. Sister-in-law, hello. I am the Chief's communications officer. My name is Chen Yan. Chen Yan, hurry and tell me where Li Jin is right now. What's going on? Lin Qian was only concerned about when she would be able to see Li Jin. Actually, a lot of people in the Air Force know that the chief has been saved, but no one informed you or the Li family because Chen Yan wasn't tall, but he was well built. From the looks of it, he was loyal and honest. From the looks of it, he was a reliable soldier. If you have something to say, then say it. Lin Qian was already mentally prepared. She had already guessed that there was an inside story. Since the chief had already been saved, there was no reason not to inform his wife. Miss Han saved the chief and he's currently at the Han family hospital. They've deliberately blocked the news from spreading. I'm not sure what Miss Han is planning. She wants to replace me, Lin Qian said straightforwardly. Do you know which hospital he's at? I know very well. Okay, I'm going to return to the Li family home first. I need to think about this carefully. But before that, Lin Qian decided to see Tongning. The people at Superstar Media had been worried sick about her, so she felt that she needed to reassure them first. Soon Lin Qian arrived at Hyatt Regency. Although Tongning knew that Lin Qian was already on her way back, she still let out a sigh of relief when she saw her. Her heart could finally relax. You scared the hell out of me. I'm sorry, Ningjia. Forget it, I understand. Tongning took a deep breath and asked. I've already heard about what happened to Li Jin. Where is he now? He's at the Han family home. Is this the Miss Han that pretended to be Li Jin's godsister and demanded an explanation from you? Tongning quickly searched through her memory for information on this woman with the surname Han. That's right. She's staying at her own home with someone else's husband and not announcing it to the public. What's the meaning of this? Tongning scoffed. Even if she wants to replace you, doing this will make others think she's being too frivolous. Especially since you're already married. She's a soldier, so she should know the consequences of ruining a military marriage. Plus, you're pregnant. I'm planning to go back to the Li family to discuss with Mom and Dad how to get him back. After hearing this, Tongning shook her head. Since the Han family have the ability to detain them, they must have a good reason. I don't think you'll be able to get anything out of them if you go recklessly. I still have to go. That's my husband. Lin Qian's brows were tightly knitted together. I don't care if my surname is cold or hot. I don't care if it's a tiger's lair or a dragon's lair. All I know is that I have to get my husband out. Tongning nodded her head and patted Lin Qian on the shoulder. This is a family matter, so it's not appropriate for us to get involved. So, you need to resolve it on your own. But you need to remember, superstar media will always have your back. Thank you, Ningjie. Lin Qian's eyes turned red. You're the only one that never leaves me. Don't say such mushy words. Hurry up and get him back. Tongning urged as Lin Qian quickly left Hyatt Regency and returned to the Li family home. She then explained the entire situation to her parents. As soon as Father Li heard this, he slammed his hands on the table angrily. Is this family shameless? Not to mention that Jean Eyre is already married. Even if he wasn't, the Han family would still be a laughingstock. If word got out that their unmarried daughter was keeping their man at home, wouldn't Han Xiao be a disgrace? Old man, this Han Xiao has been clinging to Jean Eyre for a long time and even saved him this time. Although we should be grateful to this family, the things they've done are too ridiculous. How could they hide it from their parents? Madam, don't worry. This afternoon, Qian Qian and I will go to the Han family home to get him back. I refuse to believe that this family won't return my son to me. That's right, Qian Qian, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will always support you. Motherly hated mistresses that ruined a family's happiness. Yet this woman actually dared to appear in front of her and seduce her son? Even if she cut Han Xiao into a million pieces, she wouldn't think it was too much. Lin Qian nodded her head and headed upstairs to get some rest. As she was currently pregnant, she was easily tired. Baby, don't be afraid. Mommy will definitely bring Daddy home. When that time comes, you need to put on a good performance. Speaking of which, after Father Li found out that his son had been detained by the Han family, and that no one had notified him, he immediately rushed to the military base. He couldn't understand what was going on. What kind of rules did the Han family abide by? After the higher-ups found out, they were also shocked. But they had no choice but to comfort Father Li. Old Li, no matter how bad this family is, they still saved your son's life. Even if you don't like what they're doing, you still need to consider the pride of both families. I can't even get my son back, so I don't care about anyone else. I'm going to go home right now and pick up my daughter-in-law. Everyone knew that the Han family's actions were unreasonable, but the Han family were Li Jin's saviors. Plus, Li Jin had yet to wake up, so moving him would definitely affect his recovery. That's why the military decided to turn a blind eye to the situation. But who would have thought the Li family would find out so quickly? Father Li was furious. Just thinking about it made him feel wronged. He was a major general of the Li family, yet he couldn't even return home. Father Li couldn't take it lying down. So he brought Lin Qian with him to the hospital owned by the Han family. But when they arrived, they realized that even though it was just a normal hospital, the security was extremely strict. But Father Li was not afraid. He directly said to the nurse at the nurse's desk, I am Li Jin's father. Tell Han Xiao to come out and see me. The two nurses looked at each other. In the end, they couldn't stand the pressure from Father Li anymore, so they called the hospital's internal line. A moment later, Han Xiao came out to welcome Elder Li. Uncle Li, you're here. If I hadn't come, would my son have taken your surname? Father Li humphed. Uncle, I think you've misunderstood something. Things aren't what you think. Let me explain. Han Xiao tried to change the subject, but Father Li wasn't easy to fool. I don't care what reason you have, Li Jin has a wife and parents. It's not appropriate for him to stay here. Chapter 972. After hearing this, Han Xiao stretched out her hand and stopped Father Li. Uncle, I'm not afraid to tell you that during this mission, Li Jin and I have already agreed that if he survives, we will be together. Plus, the higher-ups are also aware of this. That's why they don't think it's a problem for Li Jin to stay at the Han family. I know it's hard for you to accept this, but he told me that he's sorry towards Lin Qian and his wife. Because of his job, he can't give Lin Qian a stable life. So, he thinks that it's time for them to cut their relationship. So, Uncle, There's no reason why Li Jin can't stay at the Han family. After hearing Han Zhao's words, before Father Li could respond, Lin Qian had already stepped forward and threw a slap across Han Zhao's face. I've never seen a mistress act so openly. Miss Han, you've truly opened my eyes. Han Zhao received the slap, but she did not retaliate. Instead, she pretended to be pitiful. I know it's hard for you to accept this. So, you can do whatever you want to me. I know that you've always wanted to replace me. That's why you've come up with so many lies. But Li Jin didn't say anything himself, so it's hard to verify the authenticity. I know that he's currently in a coma. Since he hasn't woken up, and he hasn't told me that he's going to help the two of you, he should be returning to the Li family and returning to my side. Lin Qian, do you have to be hurt to the core before you can accept the truth? Lin Qian laughed as she looked at Han Zhao in ridicule. Regardless of whether this is the truth or not, I still need to take Li Jin with me. Even if you're telling the truth and you want to be together, it's not going to happen for the next 8 months. Unless you want to go to jail. What do you mean? What I mean is I'm pregnant, Lin Qian said as she pointed to her stomach. So no matter how much the two of you love each other, I'm sorry, but Li Jin will have to return to my side first. I'm not afraid of making a big deal out of this, but I'd like to see how the two of you are going to deal with it. Han Zhao never expected that Lin Qian would be pregnant at a time like this. Impossible. You're lying to me. This is impossible. Li Jin and I are husband and wife. Do we need to report to you how often we do it? Since we are husband and wife, isn't it natural for me to be pregnant? So, if you don't want to hand him over today, that's fine. And I won't force you. I'm not a part of this industry, and I know I can't win against you. But don't forget, I am a part of the entertainment industry. If you still want to keep your dignity and live a normal life, then you better return Li Jin to me. Otherwise, I want your entire Han clan to be shamed because of you. I don't believe you're pregnant. I don't believe it. That's easy. As long as I do a checkup in the hospital, everything will come to light. You've been trying to ruin my relationship with Li Jin time and time again. In the past, I went easy on you, but now, I won't do it again. Because I've realized that your character and your status are on a completely different level. Qian, stop wasting time with her. Let's do a checkup right now, and I'll report this to the higher-ups. I refuse to believe that they've blinded their eyes and ignored the fact that you're pregnant. Father Li's attitude was clear. There was no way he was going to accept Han Zhao. He could thank her for saving his life, but he had no intention of changing his daughter-in-law. Why would he bring Han Zhao into the family? Was he disgusting? After hearing this, Han Zhao clenched her fists tightly. Although she wanted to fight back, there was already Li Jin's child in Lin Qian's stomach. Uncle, it's not that I don't want you to take Li Jin with you, but Li Jin's injuries are too serious and he can't move around. If he stays here, he will receive the best treatment. Seeing that her provocation was useless, Han Zhao immediately tried a new tactic. You can't just watch as Li Jin's treatment fails, right? Han Zhao wasn't lying. Li Jin's injuries were indeed too serious and he couldn't move around. But, were they supposed to watch as their son was left in someone else's care? Father Li turned around and looked at Lin Qian as Lin Qian replied. Since Li Jin can't be moved, then as his wife, I should stay behind to take care of him. I don't want outsiders to gossip and ruin Miss Han's reputation. It's true that I don't come from a rich family, but I won't allow anyone to bully me. Han Zhao, I'm sure that with me around, Li Jin won't even look at you. Han Zhao couldn't do anything about Lin Qian. After all, Lin Qian was legally Li Jin's wife and she was pregnant, so she couldn't reject her. I was the one who saved him. Doesn't the Li family have a word of thanks? If it wasn't for the fact that you saved Li Jin, I would have found someone to beat you up, Lin Qian replied. Seeing Lin Qian's domineering attitude, Father Li couldn't help but admire her. She was a troublemaker and not a pushover that everyone could bully. This was how his daughter-in-law should be. Li Jin is still in the ICU and it's not visiting hours yet. Even if you came, you wouldn't be able to see him. Time will eventually come. As a pregnant woman, I have plenty of time. I can just sit here and wait. Han Zhao couldn't do anything to Lin Qian. All she could do was stomp her feet and leave angrily. She was a female officer at the military base. Why couldn't she do anything to a defenseless pregnant woman? As soon as Han Xiao left, Father Li immediately said to Lin Qian, "I'm worried about you staying here on your own, so I'll stay here with you. I've also given your mother a phone call, and she'll rush over in a moment. With the two of you here, you can take care of each other. If Han Xiao tries anything funny again, you'll be able to handle it." "Thank you, Father," Lin Qian nodded. But at this moment she had nothing to fear. As long as she could see Li Jin, she had nothing to fear. Afterwards, Lin Qian gave Tongning a phone call, and told her about the situation at the hospital. As soon as Tongning heard about the situation, she exclaimed, "This Han Xiao is quite a talent. I can't believe that with her status, she dared to take such a risk to steal Li Jin from you. How despicable." Tongning laughed over the phone. She then said to Lin Qian, "To ensure your safety, I will prepare 4 bodyguards for you in a moment. When it comes to a woman like Han Xiao, it's better to be safe than sorry. If she really tries to hurt the child in your stomach, at least you'll be able to fight back." "Thank you, Ningjia. You've already thanked me a lot." Chapter 973. At this moment, Lin Qian was sitting outside the ICU with a complex feeling in her heart. If a weak woman was in Han Zhao's shoes, she may have fallen for it and misunderstood that Li Jin wanted to be with Han Xiao. As a result, she would have signed the divorce papers without even seeing Li Jin. In this world, it wasn't easy to firmly believe in something, but it was easy to doubt someone. But the woman that Han Xiao met wasn't an ordinary woman. It was her, Lin Qian. Lin Qian sat outside the ICU for a good few hours, but there was still no movement from the ICU. The 4 bodyguards that Tongning sent over were already in place, and Mother Li had already arrived at the hospital. Afterwards, Mother Li walked over to the ICU and grabbed a nurse to question her. But the nurse simply told her that it wasn't visiting hours yet. Most importantly, Li Jin was seriously injured and had yet to wake up. So it wasn't convenient for the family to visit him. What kind of lousy hospital is this? Even a mother isn't allowed to visit her son. "Mom, this is the Han family's hospital," Lin Qian replied. "For now we need to follow their rules." "But Qian, are we going to continue to be controlled like this? Using someone else's life to threaten us is despicable and shameless." Mother Li sneered. Although she was grateful that the Han family had saved Li Jin, if they treated him like this after rescuing him, she would rather not have saved him at all. "Let's wait a little longer," Lin Qian comforted. Mother Li took a deep breath. She had never been treated like this before. Did this mean that if she wanted to see her son, she had to go through the Han family's approval? Every dog has its day. Therefore, the whole family sat in the VIP resting area of the hospital for the whole day. When it was finally time to visit at night, Mother Li went to the ICU medical staff to ask them again. The medical staff was actually very impatient with Mother Li. "Family member, I've already said that Mr. Li's condition is too serious for you to visit. Do you want your son to live or not? I am Li Jin's mother. I want to see my son's medical records." Mother Li trembled in anger. "Even if you look at his medical records, Mr. Li is still seriously injured. Even if you want to take him away, the hospital will not allow it. This is a matter of life and death." In reality, the Li family knew that the Han family had played some tricks behind the scenes. "Mom, don't start a fight with them." Lin Qian immediately stepped forward to stop Mother Li. The doctor with the surgical mask thought that Lin Qian had already given in, so he sneered. But Lin Qian added, "If necessary, we will do whatever we can. Let's go." The doctor couldn't help but feel a little shocked after hearing that. It was obvious that Lin Qian wasn't someone that could be easily bullied. Plus, she was part of the entertainment industry. If she wanted to cause trouble, it would be very easy. "Miss Lin, I am Mr. Li's attending physician. I think you should show me some respect. After all, you still need me to treat your husband. If my husband knew that his wife was being treated like this, I'm sure he wouldn't want to be treated by a doctor like you. That's it, let's not waste any more time." After speaking, Lin Qian and Mother Li turned around. Qian, what do we do now? We can't even see anyone. Are we really going to beg Han Xiao? Since they were in someone else's territory, they had to compromise. Lin Qian felt that she couldn't wait any longer. So, she gave Tongning another phone call. Ningjie, I want to know if your second sister has a way to get Li Jin out of this hospital. After hearing Lin Qian's words, Tongning thought for a moment and replied, I'll give Tang Yichen a phone call. I really don't have a choice. After all, she didn't have any power or influence. Don't you still have me? After the two women hung up the phone, Tongning immediately contacted Tang Yichen. As soon as Tang Yichen heard what Tongning said, she almost exploded. Oh my God, this hospital is quite something. How dare they detain a patient and prevent his family from seeing him? Why didn't the family make a complaint? How could it be so easy when the Han family is involved? Okay, I'll make a trip, Tang Yichen replied straightforwardly. As a doctor, there were some things that she understood and knew how to deal with. Soon, Tang Yichen arrived at the Han family's hospital. As soon as she saw Lin Qian, she waved her hand. You don't need to say anything else. Tongning has already told me everything. Sorry to trouble you, Yichen. I don't blame you. The medical industry is just like the entertainment industry. It's a deep well. Tang Yichen sighed and led Lin Qian to the ICU. She then said to the receptionist, Ask Li Jin's doctor to come out. Otherwise, I'll make a complaint. As soon as the nurse saw Tang Yichen dressed in a white military hospital coat, she immediately gave the doctor a phone call. As soon as the doctor stepped out and saw Tang Yichen, he was a little surprised. Are you Li Jin's doctor? Yes, I am. I've never heard of a hospital that doesn't allow family members to see a patient's information. On top of that, they're even making family members wait outside the hospital. Would you believe that I'm going to sue the hospital for illegal practices? I'm sure you're aware that I've already sued the third hospital. Tang Yichen confronted the doctor with the aura of a doctor. Not only that, but Tang Yichen also saw the doctor's name tag. By the way, how did a pediatrician like you end up in the ICU? Li Jin isn't a pediatrician. Seeing that Tang Yichen was being so aggressive, the doctor immediately stuttered. This. Just tell me if Li Jin is in the ICU. The doctor was shocked as if he had seen a ghost. At this time, Tang Yichen understood what the doctor was trying to say. So she turned to Lin Qian and said, It's possible that Li Jin isn't in the ICU. The Han family must have used some sort of cover-up. But if he's not in the ICU, where could he be? Just call the police, Lin Qian. Right now, only the police can give you a reasonable explanation. The police and the military don't work in the same system. I happen to know an upright and plain-spoken police officer. You can try contacting him. After speaking, Tang Yichen pulled out her phone and briefly explained the situation. Wait for me at the hospital. He'll be here in a moment. Thank you, Yichen. Tang Yichen waved her hand and rushed back to the military hospital. However, deep down, she despised the Han family. Who would have thought that such a shameless person existed in this world? How could they hold on to someone's husband and not let him go? Perhaps, even Lin Qian had never seen such a despicable act in this world. Li Jin, where are you right now? Chapter 974. At this time, Elder Fan was secretly observing Tongning's movements. She was currently helping to find Li Jin, so she didn't have time to worry about President Fan. But that didn't mean she didn't know about his grandson's background. What if, after the incident with Li Jin was over, she decided to come back to settle the score? After much thought, the old man decided to find an opportunity to invite Tongning to the Fan family home as soon as possible. Lin Qian couldn't be bothered with the matters of the entertainment industry, so Tongning handed Luoying Hong's matter to Long Jie. Soon, the police officer that Tang Yichen was familiar with arrived at the Han family hospital. He looked to be in his early 40s and was covered in muscles. One glance was enough to tell that he was a righteous person, especially his beautiful brown eyes, which reflected a sense of justice. On the way here, Yichen already explained your situation to me. The Han family are holding your son and husband hostage. You My surname is also Han, but it's not Han. Lin Qian understood as she nodded her head. Officer Han, what should we do now? Go straight to the Han family home and ask for him. Officer Han replied as he adjusted his police cap. Officer Han adjusted his police cap and said to Lin Qian, but I need you to put on a show. This man was called Han Yu. He was courageous and hated evil. He hated trash that relied on their background to bully others. So it was obvious that he was going to get involved in Li Jin's matter. I've been paying attention to the entertainment industry. From what I can see, superstar media has caused quite a bit of trouble. I really admire Tang Ning. She has a good temper and courage. Lin Qian never expected that this police officer would joke around with her like this. Officer Han, I would like to know how confident I am in getting my husband back if I go straight to the Han family home. If I go, they will definitely give it to me. Han Yu's gaze was as cold as a cheetah's. Late at night at the Han family home, Han Xiao stared at Li Jin, who was lying quietly in bed in a daze. She knew that the person she had offended wasn't an ordinary person. Not only was Lin Qian a strong-willed woman, but everyone at Superstar Media wasn't easy to deal with. Plus, Superstar Media had a well-developed network of connections, so they could easily find a few experts to attack the Han family. But she couldn't hand Li Jin over. She couldn't let Li Jin wake up. Even a moment of tenderness, she also wanted to occupy. Meanwhile, Father Han glared at Han Xiao angrily. His wife is about to turn the hospital upside down. Yet you're still hiding him at home. Aren't you afraid of embarrassing me? Dad, she's already here. News of my relationship with Li Jin has already spread. Are you willing to lose to someone who has nothing? What's the point of telling others about you and Li Jin? They were simply called a cheating couple. Plus, Li Jin never woke up from the beginning. Did you think that everyone would believe the lies you came up with? Did you think your father would believe them? Dad, I have no other choice. I will never hand him over. Han Xiao held onto Li Jin's hand like a madman. Don't think that Lin Qian can't do anything to you. She simply hasn't used her connections yet. Don't forget, she's from the Gu family. Forget about her family background. What about the person behind her, Tang Ning? How much longer do you think you can hide him? Dad, I only have one chance. If I miss it, I'll be doomed. Han Xiao turned around, knelt down on the ground and held onto the back of her father's hand. Oomph. Father Han flung her hand away in anger. Why did he have to give birth to such a money-losing idiot? Just wait for Lin Qian to come looking for you. Father Han expected that Lin Qian would come looking for him, but he never expected how she would do it. They had no evidence, so they couldn't confirm that Li Jin was at the Han family home. So, they had to find a way to justify their actions. The next morning, Lin Qian was admitted to the hospital. The doctor told her that she almost lost the child in her stomach. Because of this, Lin Qian broke down in tears and called the police with the Li family. When Han Yu arrived at the Han family home, he came with the police. The police arrived at the Han family home with the weak Lin Qian and the patient's records. Father Han could stop Lin Qian, but he couldn't stop the police. Even though he had power, when it came to a police officer like Han Yu, there was nothing he could do. Constable Han, I've heard a lot about you. May I ask why you're here today? Father Han asked. Deep down, he hated Han Zhao's actions. Because of his daughter, he had no choice but to smile at Han Yu. Elder Han, you've done a lot of work in the military, so I won't beat around the bush. I'm here because of this pregnant woman, Han Yu said as he pointed to Lin Qian. I've already done my research and a lot of people at the military base can testify that Lin Qian's husband, the son of the Li family Li Jin, is currently at the Han family home. Han. Elder Han, let me be honest with you. Please don't lie to me. This woman is pregnant, but because she couldn't see her husband, she almost had a miscarriage. If word of this gets out, I'm sure the Han family won't be able to face the world anymore. Is there anything more vicious than humiliating a pregnant woman in this world? Above all, covering one's ears while stealing a bell isn't a long-term solution. Since the police have already gotten involved, I hope you can cooperate with them. Han Yu's words could be considered to be extremely harsh, because he had put a very big hat on the Han family and accused them of bullying pregnant women. Father Han's face alternated between green and white. He was truly ashamed. Constable Han, please be merciful. I'll get someone to carry Li Jin out right now. Father Han knew that if he let Li Jin live, the Han family would suffer sooner or later. But, on account of the fact that the Han family saved Li Jin's life, could you let this matter go? Han Yu looked at Lin Qian. Although Lin Qian didn't want to, she had no choice but to nod her head. Right now, seeing Li Jin was the most important thing. Of course. Okay, please wait here for a moment. After speaking, Father Han turned around and walked into Han Zhao's room. He then grabbed Han Xiao by the hair. I sure have a good daughter. Now that the police are here, you've completely humiliated me. Dad, as long as you don't hand Li Jin over to them. Li Jin is someone else's husband and son. Do you think he's your toy? After speaking, Father Han turned to the maids and said, lock Miss up and bring Li Jin out. Come with me. Dad, don't treat me like this. He's my only hope. I beg of you. Lin Qian and her son. Do you really want hope? I've taught you for nothing. This humiliation is a lesson for me. If you continue to resist, then get the hell out of the Han family. From now on, I'm going to pretend that I never had a daughter. Chapter 975. Dad, I beg of you, you can't let Lin Qian take Li Jin away. Han Xiao knelt on the ground and begged her father. It's no longer up to you. Dad, if you really send Li Jin back to the Li family home, when she wakes up, your daughter will be sent to the military court because I single-handedly caused Li Jin's accident. Han Xiao had no choice but to reveal the truth. It turned out she had never saved Li Jin. After all, the person that hurt him was Han Xiao herself. Father Han was shocked when he heard that, because he truly didn't expect there to be such a truth. Dad, if I had a choice, do you think I would do this? Han Xiao fell to the ground. Father Han looked at the ceiling helplessly. In the end, he compromised. After all, she was his only daughter. It's fine if I don't hand Li Jin over, but from now on, he will never appear in front of the Li family again. He will either die or forget everything that happened. Han Xiao was stunned. She never expected that Li Jin would end up in such a state. Lin Qian and Han Yu waited for a long time, but Father Han didn't come out. They couldn't help but look at each other, and instantly understood. Something must have happened. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken so long to bring someone out to meet him. But just as Han Yu was about to question the housekeeper, Father Han hurried over and said apologetically, Constable Han, Miss Lin, I'm so sorry. Li Jin was originally at the Han family home, but I'm not sure if he's woken up. But he left without saying a word. There's no sign of him at home right now. You're such a big Han clan. How could you let a seriously injured person escape? Han Yu clearly did not believe it. Officer Han, I know you don't believe me, but you can carry out a search. I'm telling the truth. Li Jin's injuries aren't light, and I don't want anything to happen to him. Let's go out and search for him. Who knows, we might find some clues. Even if I have to search, I'll have to search the entire Han clan first. Alright, the butler will cooperate with you to search the Han family. The rest of us will go out and look around. Father Han pretended as if nothing had happened. If not for the fact that Han Yu was used to seeing liars, he would have really been deceived by the Han family. So, after Father Han left with his men, Han Yu conducted a thorough search of the Han family home. He did not miss a single blind spot. No one. That sly old fox. I'm afraid that he has already made arrangements and hid them somewhere else. Sometimes you don't have to use the door to send someone away. All you have to do is set up a ladder by the window of another room, and it will be enough to send them away. After hearing Han Yu's words, Lin Qian's tears overflowed from her eyes. Han Xiao wants Li Jin. Why would she torture him like this? I'm afraid you'll have to ask the Han clan. After Han Yu finished speaking, he patted Lin Qian on the shoulder. Let's search the vicinity first. There's always hope. Li Jin was indeed escorted out of the Han family home through the window on the third floor. Two men carried his tall body towards the suburbs. But halfway there, he was woken up by the pain of a tug. He saw that the two men had placed him in the grass like a corpse. On the other side, the two men were digging a hole. Perhaps they wanted to bury him on the spot. Li Jin tried his best to stay conscious, but he couldn't move his body. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that the two men were digging to escape. But unfortunately he was discovered. The two men forcefully dragged him back. Li Jin's head was spinning as he thought that he might have to say goodbye to Lin Qian forever. But at this time, a loud yell was heard from afar. "What are you doing? Stop." The two men were so scared that they immediately ran away. They were too ashamed to return to the Han family home, so they got into their car and fled for their lives. Meanwhile, Lin Qian and Han Yu didn't find Li Jin at the Han family home. At this time, Han Xiao walked out of the bedroom and into the living room. Even at a time like this, she refused to admit defeat. "Lin Qian, I told you a long time ago that Li Jin doesn't want to see you again. If he really cares about you and knows that you're here, why would he run away?" To tell you the truth, Li Jin woke up a few hours ago and we talked for a long time, including his determination to divorce you. Lin Qian just listened and didn't answer. "I heard that you almost had a miscarriage. What a shame. Why didn't you miscarry?" As soon as Han Yu heard this, he grabbed Han Zhao's chin and warned coldly, "You will fall into my hands sooner or later. When that time comes, it won't be easy." Lin Qian's face turned pale. Just as she was about to retaliate, she received a phone call from an unknown number. "Hello, is this Mrs. Li? This is the military hospital. A kind-hearted person just sent your husband here, and he is currently undergoing emergency treatment. His vitals are currently normal. If it's convenient for you, please come here as soon as possible." After hearing this, Lin Qian hung up the phone. She said to Han Yu, "Constable Han, my mother has fainted. I need to go home and check on her. Since we haven't found her, we have no choice but to call it a day." Han Yu nodded. But before she left, Lin Qian glared at Han Xiao like she wanted to skin her alive. "If anything happens to Li Jin, I, Lin Qian, will make your life a living hell." After speaking, Lin Qian and Han Yu left the Han family home together. After they left, Lin Qian said to Han Yu, "Constable Han, I just received a phone call saying that Li Jin is at the military hospital." After hearing this, Han Yu laughed. "No wonder you were in such a rush to leave. Li Jin is quite lucky." At this moment, Lin Qian was eager to return home, so she rushed straight to the hospital. After confirming that Li Jin's condition had stabilized, tears began to flow from her eyes. As Tang Yichen was the first to notify Tongning, and the doctor notified Lin Qian, Tongning also rushed to the hospital. "How is he?" Tongning asked Tang Yichen on behalf of Lin Qian. "He suffered some serious injuries, but luckily none of his vitals were hurt. He should be able to recover after resting for a while. He's already awake." As soon as Tang Yichen said this, Lin Qian rushed into the hospital room. As soon as she saw Li Jin lying on the bed, she immediately pounced on him. Li Jin was awoken by the commotion. But as soon as he saw Lin Qian, he immediately lifted his hand and patted her on the back. "Qian Qian." As he hadn't spoken for a long time, Li Jin's voice was raspy. But Lin Qian didn't care as she threw herself into his arms and burst into tears. "I'm sorry for scaring you again. I'm more than just scaring you. Do you know how difficult it was for me to even see you? Do you know that I'm going crazy looking for you?" Lin Qian cried as she tugged on Li Jin's clothes. But because of her emotions, she ended up fainting. Li Jin was so frightened that he immediately called the doctor. As soon as Tongning and the others entered the room, they said to Li Jin, "She's pregnant, yet you're strangling her. Do you want to die?" Chapter 976. Li Jin was so scared that he immediately let go of her as a look of shock and confusion appeared on his face. This emoting didn't seem any different from before. Afterwards, Li Jin reached out her hand to cover her pale face. Her eyes turned red, and it looked like tears were about to fall from her eyes. "We thought you were going to abandon Lin Qian and be with Han Xiao." After hearing Tongning's words, Li Jin furrowed his brows. He didn't quite understand what Tongning was trying to say. Seeing this, Tongning explained the entire situation to Li Jin. She included how the Han family caused all sorts of trouble, starting from the hospital and everything that happened at the Han family home. If it was someone else and you could still see them when you woke up, I would have changed my surname to yours. It's because Lin Qian was determined that she wasn't affected by these lies. Tongning took a deep breath. Li Jin, if you don't give Lin Qian a satisfactory explanation, I will look down on you. After speaking, Tongning left Li Jin's room. After all, she was 7 to 8 months pregnant, and she had already done everything that she could. Li Jin listened quietly as he thought about how Han Xiao had violated all sorts of rules during the battle, and ended up crashing his plane. He hadn't even gotten even with her yet. How could she scheme against Lin Qian like this? Thinking about all the hurt that Lin Qian had suffered, Li Jin's heart ached. Luckily, Lin Qian trusted him the entire time. As she was merely traumatized, Lin Qian was arranged to rest beside Li Jin. Li Jin watched as Lin Qian fell asleep. Her face was so pale. How many days had it been since she last had a good rest? She even went to the gorge because of him. With this thought, Li Jin blamed himself. Ever since he and Lin Qian had started dating, she hadn't experienced a single day of happiness, and was constantly being framed. She was pregnant, but because she needed to find a husband, she had no choice but to run around. With this thought, Li Jin stretched out his arms and pulled the sleeping Lin Qian into his embrace. He gently protected her like she was a precious treasure. Lin Qian was shaken awake. Feeling the familiar embrace, she finally stretched out her arms and hugged Li Jin back. Qian, I'm back. I'm sorry. Have you had a change of heart? Do you want to divorce me? Lin Qian asked mockingly. I will never divorce you. Lin Qian, even if I die, I will never betray my lover or my marriage, Li Jin said firmly. Plus, during the mission I never saw Han Xiao at all. The only reason my plane crashed was because of Han Xiao. Didn't she save you? Li Jin shook his head. Qian, I will definitely help you. Lin Qian's eyes turned red. She could feel that the man in front of her was indeed her husband. Although he wasn't romantic enough, he was protective enough. Also, since you's pregnant, why didn't you rest at home? Lin Qian, why did you have a vov? Other than me, who else would look for you? I don't have a vov of you. Jean said Lin I of Jean of IIIT. After hearing this, Li Jin hugged Lin Qian even tighter. I won't let anything happen to me again. I promise. Although he knew that his promise was useless in front of the government, Lin Qian still calmed down. The couple didn't have much time to chat before Father Li and Mother Li arrived at the hospital. After seeing that Li Jin was fine, Mother Li broke down and burst into tears. Mother Li was a strong person. From what Li Jin could remember, he had never seen his mother cry like this. It seemed this time, he had given everyone quite a scare. The family was finally reunited, and Li Jin told her parents everything that had happened from beginning to end. After hearing this, Father Li slammed his hands on the table and stood up angrily. The Han family are too despicable. So, it turns out that Han Xiao was the one that harmed you. How dare she claim to be your savior? How despicable. I will definitely report this matter to the higher-ups. I refuse to believe that the Han family can continue to roam freely. It wasn't easy for Lin Qian to fall asleep under Li Jin's coaxing. At this time, Li Jin's heart ached for the exhausted Qian. Dad, I need to give Qian an explanation for this matter. You should give Qian an explanation too. If I was in her position, I would definitely divorce you as soon as you returned. What kind of woman have you been messing around with? Luckily, Qian trusted you. Mom, I know what to do. When Li Jin said this, his eyes were deep, revealing a rare fox-like expression. He had never been a person to be trifled with. It seemed, the Han family still had no idea that Li Jin had been successfully rescued, and thought that they had buried him under a tree. To give Lin Qian an explanation, Li Jin took the opportunity to get to know Police Officer Han. Police Officer Han, can I ask you for a favor? After all, after we find the 2 men that buried me alive, you will still need to go to the Han family home. Why don't you help me out first? Li Jin's intention was obvious. He wanted to get revenge for Lin Qian. Han Yu thought to himself, this was such an interesting matter that he had to get involved. Plus, just like Li Jin said, as long as he found a witness, he would be able to convict the Han family. So, he naturally had to go to the Han family home to look for clues. So, what was the harm in going? When are you going? Tomorrow. When Qian Qian feels a little better. Li Jin replied as he stroked Lin Qian's hair. Okay, let's keep in touch when the time comes. Li Jin nodded his head and thanked him. He then told his parents to go home and get some rest before he calmed down, and pulled Lin Qian tightly into his embrace. Over the past few days, whenever he was conscious, he would repeatedly tell himself that he had to hold on until he could see Lin Qian again. Even if it was just one glance, it was enough. And now, the heavens had given him this opportunity. Not only did he see her again, he even had the chance to hug her in his arms. This was probably the best gift that the heavens could give him. During this time, Lin Qian woke up a few times. Each time, she would cry and throw a tantrum in a panic. Li Jin's heart ached so much that his eyes turned red. He never imagined that at this moment, he would feel so much hatred towards Han Xiao. How dare she hurt Lin Qian so deeply? The next morning Li Jin, who was supposed to be lying in bed, woke up early. When Lin Qian woke up and saw him, she couldn't help but be shocked. You're injured so badly. It's fine, Li Jin smiled. Don't underestimate your husband. Go wash yourself, I'll take you to get revenge. After hearing this, Lin Qian was a little suspicious, but she did not object. After all, she had never been a kind person. This was something that she had learned from her mother. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll pull them up by the roots. Chapter 977. Father Han never expected that Han Yu and Lin Qian would come knocking on his door again. So, when he received Han Yu, he looked at him as if to ask, "Why are you here again?" Han Yu smiled without directly explaining his intentions. He simply pointed to Lin Qian and said to Father Han, "We haven't found her husband and he ended up at the Han family home. If the police don't go to the Han family home, where would they go? Old man Han, please don't take offense. So you're saying that it's our Han family's fault for saving him?" Father Han asked Han Yu with an angry expression. Old Han, Li Jin eventually went missing at the Han family home. In order to find him as soon as possible, we had no choice but to come here and ask Miss Han to clarify a few things. I hope you can cooperate. Han Yu beat around the bush before revealing the reason for his visit to Father Han. As you know, Lin Qian is from the entertainment industry. If this matter gets blown up, it won't look good for anyone, don't you think? Father Han humphed and said to Lin Qian, "The Han family doesn't have the person that you want. No matter how much you try, it's useless. So what if you're from the entertainment industry? Do you think I'm afraid?" "Uncle Han, please ask Han Xiao to come out. No matter what you say, you're just making things difficult for each other." Lin Qian replied calmly. Don't all women in the entertainment industry use their bodies to get ahead? If you don't have Li Jin, you can simply find someone else, Father Han mocked. I don't care how nasty your words are. I want Han Xiao to give me an explanation today. Father Han saw how stubborn Lin Qian was, so he wanted to use some other method to get rid of her. But at this time, Han Xiao walked out of her room and said, "What explanation do you want me to give you? Li Jin has left, and it means that he doesn't want to see you. Why are you still bothering me? How dare you yell at my father?" There's no need to waste time talking to them. The Han family is an open and honest family. It's up to the police if they want to believe us. If they don't, they can conduct a second search on the Han family home. Father Han said as he waved his sleeves. Lin Qian, I'm warning you, if you continue to be stubborn, don't blame me for being ruthless. When the time comes, I won't care if you're pregnant or not. I will still make my move. Han Xiao threatened. Miss Han, you sure talk big. The police are standing right in front of you. Can't you see them? The police? Officer Han, take a look at your rank before you come to the Han family to cause trouble. I'm not here to get him back today. Lin Qian finally said loudly after a while. You don't want me? Lin Qian, you and your boss are both powerful people. Tell me, what are you trying to extort from me this time? Han Xiao asked arrogantly. Han Xiao, you really won't shed a tear until you see the coffin, right? Lin Qian asked sharply as she lifted her head. See, this is your true face. How disgusting. Who knows, the child in your stomach might not even be Li Jin's. Han Xiao said. Last night, Li Jin appeared in my dream and told me that Miss Han was the reason why his plane crashed. Lin Qian deliberately tested Han Xiao. However, Han Xiao's expression did indeed change. To be exact, she was nervous. Don't talk nonsense here. Don't you know if I'm talking nonsense or not? Lin Qian probed. You're scared, aren't you? Are you afraid that someone will find out and send you to the military court? If that happens, how many years will you be sentenced to? Lin Qian, don't try to mislead people with your lies. Uncle Han, I'm sure you know whether I'm trying to mislead people with my lies or not. Do you need me to repeat what Han Xiao did to Li Jin and what you did to him? Lin Qian questioned the father and daughter. Han Xiao, you were once in love with Li Jin. How could you be so ruthless? Afterwards, you even shamelessly pretended to be Li Jin's savior. Do you have no sense of decency? The more Han Xiao listened to Lin Qian, the more she felt that something wasn't right. After all, Lin Qian's words sounded like she already knew everything. Although Han Xiao felt guilty, she still maintained her composure on the surface. I think you're crazy. You can't find a husband, so you're taking it out on me, your savior. Lin Qian, no matter what you say, the Han family has a clear conscience, and no matter how unreasonable you are, this is the Han family home. Get out of here immediately. I don't want to see you ever again. Everyone in the industry is cursing at you because of your background. Why don't you take a look at yourself? Do you know how badly you've dragged Li Jin down? Constable Han, leave with your men. The Han family home isn't a place where people like you can come and go as you please. In the end, Father Han had no choice but to put on airs. Also, based on what Lin Qian said just now, I can sue her for slander. My daughter saved Li Jin. This is an undeniable fact. Yet, she tried to twist the facts. What an eye-opener. Lin Qian and Han Yu looked at each other, but did not say anything. At this time, another voice suddenly sounded in their ears. Really? How could it be fake? Did your daughter save me? How come I didn't know about this? Li Jin, who had been hiding in the dark, slowly approached Lin Qian and wrapped his arms around her. At this time, Father Han and Han Zhao's expressions changed in shock. Officer Han, since everyone is here today, I'll explain this matter to you. Also, please take down the transcript. Don't worry, Han Yu said as he made an okay gesture to Li Jin. A few seconds later, Li Jin began to explain. Firstly, the problem with my fighter jet was caused by Han Zhao's illegal operation. Although it will take some time, it won't be too difficult to find out the truth. After all, I've already handed the key evidence to the base. Han Xiao caused my plane to crash, yet you insist on saying that you saved me. Han Xiao, you're so despicable that even a man can't compare to you. Secondly, I'm sure Uncle Han and his son are well aware of the fact that you were buried alive yesterday. Although the two culprits managed to escape, they've already been caught by the police. So you won't be able to escape punishment. You'll also be a soldier. Thirdly, Han Xiao, you've insulted my wife on multiple occasions. You've framed, threatened and lied to me. So, I'm going to write down everything you've said in a report and report it to the entire military. Fourthly, after this incident, the Han family were finished. After hearing Li Jin's last sentence, Father Han's heart began to tremble in fear. Don't try to scare me. At this time, Han Yu pulled out his arrest warrant and ordered his men to drag Father Han into the police car. As soon as Han Xiao saw this, she began to panic. Li Jin, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to ruin my family? That's what you deserve, Li Jin said from above her head. Why must you bully Qian Qian? You could have walked onto the right path, but you refused to take it. Don't take my father away. Han Xiao immediately pleaded, but Han Yu pushed her away. Chapter 978. Li Jin, my father isn't someone you can touch. You need to think this through. Li Jin looked at Han Xiao coldly. If I can't touch him, then I will. If you want revenge, then come and find me. But that will have to wait until you are released from prison. Li Jin. Han Xiao yelled. I've been by your side for so many years. Even if I haven't done much, I've still put in a lot of effort. Why can't you let me go on account of our many years of friendship? Before you say this, think about it in your mind. Have you ever thought about letting me go, letting Qian go? If you can't do it yourself, how can you expect others to do it? After speaking, Li Jin lowered his head and thought for a few seconds. When he lifted his head again, his expression was even colder. Towards you, I treat you the same as I treat everyone else. I've always treated you like a normal colleague. So what effort have you put in for me? Just like how you said you saved me. Even when Qian exposed your lie, you were still able to keep a straight face. Did you think that your methods would work on me? Han Xiao lay on the cold ground and burst into tears. I simply do it because I like you. Everything I do is because I like you, and I'm so jealous of Lin Qian that I'm going crazy. Forget it. If your love means destroying my family, then I really can't accept it. I hope the next time we meet will be in the military court. Otherwise, I don't want to look at you for the rest of my life. After speaking, he wrapped his arm around Lin Qian and turned around. Meanwhile, Han Yu had already dragged Father Han into the police car and was about to leave the Han family home. But at this time, Han Xiao suddenly yelled at Li Jin. If you don't let my father go, I will die right in front of you. If you want to die, then go ahead and die. You are a soldier, so I'm sure you're familiar with the way you move. At least that way, you won't be in so much pain. After speaking, Li Jin limped into the police car with Lin Qian. He didn't care if Han Xiao actually attacked him. Li Jin knew that Han Xiao was extremely selfish and would never do anything to hurt him. Suicide? If she had the courage, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Lin Qian watched as Li Jin retaliated against Han Xiao. Although she pitied her, she did not think she deserved any sympathy. Qian, I've already applied for a transfer. Li Jin said on the way back. I don't think I'm suited for flying anymore. Why? You don't have to feel pressured. I have too many things to do for the Air Force like before. Li Jin hugged Lin Qian. His feelings for her were clear in his words. I will switch to a clerical job and try my best to spend time with you. Lin Qian did not think she was that unreasonable. But she did not object to Li Jin's decision either. After all, this was his career and he should have his own considerations. Then you stay at home and do nothing. Anyway, I have to continue working. During this time, both Superstar Media and Tongning had done so much for her. So all she wanted to do was put in more effort for Superstar Media. It didn't take long before Tongning found out about Han Xiao's fate. She was quite satisfied with how Li Jin dealt with the situation. Lin Qian had suffered so much because of him. If Han Xiao managed to cover up the truth, then, if Li Jin didn't do anything, she would definitely take responsibility. After all, Superstar Media wasn't someone that could be easily bullied. After Lin Qian's incident calmed down, Tongning's life returned to normal. Perhaps because she had done so much for Lin Qian, she completely forgot that she had a deep grudge against President Fan. It seemed, Elder Fan had been observing Tongning for quite some time, so he knew exactly when she was most likely to leave the house. So this time he stopped her on a street near Hyatt Regency. Afterwards, a few men dressed in black stepped out of Elder Fan's Lincoln limousine and approached Tongning's car. Miss Tang, please come with us. Do you have any ill intentions? I'm sure you're aware that there are cameras everywhere in this area, Tongning asked. Miss Tang, you'll understand once you've seen our master. Afterwards, Elder Fan stepped out of the car. Although his back was a little hunched, his presence as a big brother didn't diminish. As soon as Tongning saw this man, she could tell that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. So she patiently opened the door and stepped out of the car. I'm quite satisfied to see you in person today. Hearing this, Tongning could tell that the man was judging her. You don't need to be curious about my identity. My surname is Fan and I have a useless grandson that caused a misunderstanding a few days ago, Elder Fan said. So, Miss Tang, would you do me the honor of having a meal with me? Elder Fan asked. Elder Fan, I'm sorry I can't keep you company. Aren't you just worried about your safety? I can promise you that my men won't touch a single hair on your head, Grandfather Fan replied. Perhaps you think that we can talk on the way? Of course, you can choose where you want to meet. Tongning sighed. She realized it wasn't a good place to talk on the road, so she suggested they go to a nearby bar to have a seat. Elder Fan did not object as he followed Tongning to a nearby cafe. Elder Fan, if you have something to say, why don't you get straight to the point? I heard that you know what my good-for-nothing grandson did? After Elder Fan sat up straight, he felt a little more relaxed. But the stern expression on his face was still frightening. I don't know, Tongning denied. I only heard a few things, that's all. To be honest, I don't believe you. That's why I want to know how you're going to deal with this matter, and whether you're going to reveal it to the public. Elder Fan, this is my own business. Elder Fan had been testing Tongning's emotions for a long time, but unfortunately, she hid her emotions too well. No one knew what she was thinking about at all. You sure aren't susceptible to force or persuasion. Elder Fan smiled helplessly. Elder Fan smiled helplessly and said to Tongning, although it's good to maintain your personality, you will still suffer a lot. You said you wouldn't hurt me. I won't hurt you, but that doesn't mean I can't take you with me. As soon as Elder Fan said this, Tongning stood up. I am a public figure. My every word and action is closely watched. If something were to happen to me, do you think the Fan family would be fine? Old man, let me be honest with you. If you and your grandson hadn't come knocking on my door time and time again, I would have stopped paying attention to his trivial matters a long time ago. Did you think I had nothing better to do? Chapter 979. But you can't deny that you're a person that acts on impulse. If my jerk grandson does something bad to you again, you'll still have to settle old scores with him, won't you? Elder Fan laughed. Young lady, as an elder, I shouldn't show my face in public and cause trouble for the younger generation. It's embarrassing for me. But as a grandfather, I only have one grandson. If I ignore him, he's going to get himself killed sooner or later. In that case, Elder Fan, what do you want? Tongning asked playfully. How do you want me to promise you? Haven't you been filming a sci-fi film recently? How about this? I'll personally invest in your film as an investor. I'm sure that with more money, you'll be able to produce better post-production. That way, even if we have a conflict of interest, we'll be bound together for good and for bad. That way, I'll be able to relax, Elder Fan suggested. But after hearing this, Tongning suddenly wanted to laugh. Elder Fan, are you joking? I'm being serious. No, you must be joking. Let's not talk about whether or not superstar media lacks money. Even if I had to give up on filming this film, I wouldn't let someone with a background like you invest in my film, Tongning said straightforwardly. That's my bottom line. After hearing Tongning's words, Elder Fan was a little surprised. He had always believed that prostitutes were heartless and actors were unjust. But when it came to Tongning, it seemed someone that walked the dark side was more despicable and hateful than these two types of people. I'm currently running a legitimate business, but my foundation is still a pile of bones. The two men continued to stare at each other, neither willing to give in to the other. It was obvious that Elder Fan was also restraining himself. After all, the person sitting in front of him was a woman, and a pregnant woman. No matter how despicable he was, he wouldn't do anything to a vulnerable person. You really have guts. So what you're saying is that you're choosing to perish together with us? Elder Fan asked as he glanced at Tongning. I simply don't understand. Investing in your film won't do you any harm. My film can only be pure. I can't accept any stains. Otherwise, I would be letting down Xiao Sr. Rather than wasting so much time on me, why don't you take care of your grandson and make sure he never appears in front of me again? I can't guarantee anything else, but as long as he doesn't take the initiative, I definitely won't stand out and say a word. This was probably the biggest concession Tongning could make. Actually, Tongning could tell that Elder Tang did not have any ill intentions towards her. He simply wanted to make a deal. However, she really couldn't agree with Grandpa Shang's suggestion. Grandfather Fan took a deep breath. He had never seen such a stubborn girl. He had to admit that this child had courage and tenacity. After all, there weren't many people like her nowadays. Since that was the case, he didn't plan to make things difficult for him. This old man hopes that you will remember what you said today. I, Tongning, have never gone back on my word. Perhaps it was because he heard from his subordinates that Elder Fan and Tongning were currently meeting. President Fan returned home early and found a place to meet. He originally thought that Elder Fan was going to put Tongning in her place. But who would have thought, the person that was convinced was actually Elder Fan. After Tongning left, President Fan immediately ran over to support Elder Fan. Grandfather, how did the discussion go? As long as you don't cause trouble for her, she can't be bothered to deal with your trivial matters. From today onwards, you better stay away from her. After saying this, Elder Fan boarded his car and left. Obviously, Elder Fan did not have a bad temper towards Tongning. In fact, the two could be said to be birds of a feather. Elder Fan knew that Tongning didn't like the methods of the underworld. But back in his era, this was the only way to survive. After all, one's birth was not something that one could choose. Some people were born in such a difficult environment. Plus, he was used to seeing people suck up to those in power, so it was rare for him to meet someone that could speak the truth. In fact, Elder Fan even felt that Tongning was rare. Afterwards, after Grandfather Fan left the cafe, President Fan grabbed onto the person beside him and asked, "What did Grandfather say to Tongning?" "Tongning, that slut, actually insulted Elder Fan," the bodyguard replied. Hearing this, President Fan did not say a word. But the hatred in his heart deepened. He didn't even dare to say anything harsh to Elder Fan. Yet Tongning dared to insult him? One day, I'm going to teach her a lesson. A little later, Mo Ting found out that Tongning had been asked to leave, even though she told the driver to keep it a secret. As soon as Tongning returned home, Mo Ting immediately pulled her into his embrace and scanned her from head to toe to make sure she wasn't underweight. "Why didn't you tell me? I didn't lose out." "If you were to lose out, would it be too late?" Mo Ting lectured. "You knew that you couldn't hide it from me. If I found out, I would only be more worried. Or, did you think that I didn't send enough bodyguards?" Tongning breathed in Mo Ting's scent. She didn't know why, but she was completely mesmerized by it. If an enemy wants to deal with you, it's impossible to defend or avoid them. No matter how many preparations you make and how much protection you put in, as long as you observe them, they will still find an opportunity. "What did he say to you?" Tongning explained Elder Fan's suggestion to Mo Ting. After hearing this, Mo Ting felt that the Fan family's existence was, in a way, a threat to Tongning's safety. "Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking without saying a word," Tongning said as she lifted her head and looked at Mo Ting. "The Fan family may be annoying, but they have a solid foundation. If you want to deal with them, it will take a lot of effort. I don't want you to waste your energy on them. Above all, the child in my stomach is about to be born. I don't want to cause unnecessary trouble." Mo Ting looked at Tongning's round stomach and gently ran his hand over it. After all, this was their daughter. Behind the couple, the little rascal, Mo Zichin, climbed onto the sofa and turned on the television. Tongning turned around and glanced at Mo Zichin. This unsmiling little son of hers was going to be difficult to deal with when he grew up. Although Tongning said this, Mo Ting couldn't help but be cautious at all times. He even wanted to issue a stern warning to Old Man Fan. Of course, this was after Tongning fell asleep. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.